What is up, you beautiful people? Welcome back to Memes and Markets. Keith, how are you, man?
Today is the best day of my life. Ben, how are you?
Today's the best day of my life as well because we have some legends, I can't speak, with us in the chat. We got Brand One, interesting topic. Let's go. Absolutely. Ice Crew, incoming banger. What a sell. Welcome back. Happy to have you here. Happy day. We got DC Per. What up? Hello. And Juro. What's up?
What's up,
What are we
Juru?
talking?
How are you?
Juru. What are we talking about today?
So today, in fact, I would love for you to expand a little bit on how we got to the topic. We're talking about the Unabomber, his thesis, and how it is so hyper relevant today. But how did we get to this, Ben?
To talking about it or him in general?
To talking about it.
Okay. So with everything going on with AI, I said to Keith probably, what would that have been, like maybe a month ago, maybe a little longer?
Something like that.
Yeah. I was like, look, the Unabomber is about to become relevant again because of his thesis. Because I had read a few pages of his manifesto, and it's incredibly relevant to the current hysteria we're experiencing between AI and social media. So a lot of the things that he had said that he really got clowned on and seen as kind of crazy for at the time. And he did a lot of crazy shit, don't get me wrong. But some of the points seemed like he had some merit to what he was saying. And yeah, we're going to go through, explain the timeline because he has a pretty crazy life that interconnects with a lot of other things. Like he was a part of this crazy study in Harvard too. He has a very interesting life. He went to university I think it was Harvard as a teenager. He got like early acceptance. He's an absolute genius. But he also had some demons that he dealt with. And so there's been documentaries done about him. There's a lot of stuff going on that you can access. And I strongly recommend doing your own research too. And also reading his manifesto as well. Because that was really what his whole thing was to create a big enough scene where he had the leverage to get his manifesto mass publicated. And he was successful in doing that. So we're going to walk through, explain his points, explain where it connects today, things we disagree with, which there's definitely some, and all that good stuff. Because I think he's going to become increasingly more relevant. Like I would definitely guess. Oh, you just switched over. Did you want to switch that? You're muted.
Yeah, that sucks. There's nothing I can really do about it.
That's all good. It looks fine.
Yeah, we'll keep pushing. So yeah, all of those things that you just said, and yeah, we walk through a story. Someone Teo said he was apparently an MK Ultra victim.
Yeah, that's exactly the point that I was gonna mention from the study that he was in. I believe it was. I'm sure it's in the doc, but it was crazy. They were just like literally psychologically abusing these people.
Right.
And that would be extra traumatic for him because he would have gotten so much affirmation and probably his only affirmation as someone who was very socially inept that because he was smart, he probably got attention for that, right? And so then in this study, a lot of it was like beating them down. So it was like basically telling them that they were dumb, like over and over again for whatever they shared kind of deal. We'll get into specifics, but that probably would have been destructive to him. He says it's not why he did all this stuff, but then there's some other things that maybe are contradictory to that.
Correct. So I had actually never dove into the story, even though there's been like movies and all of that going on. So this is us going through this here, and it's just super interesting. So basically, look, you got this guy who was a Harvard-educated mathematician with an IQ of 167, pretty high.
What is normal?
The normal IQ, the average IQ score on standardized tests is 90 to 109.
So he's cooking. He's smart.
He's cooking it. He's cooking them. Highly gifted would be 140 plus.
Dang. So what's this guy?
So this guy's like 0.01% level of intelligence.
Genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes to university, uh, ends up throughout his life spending 17 years mailing bombs to universities, airlines, computer stores, and he ended up killing 3 people. He injured 23 more and became the most expensive manhunt in FBI history.
That's wild.
Pretty wild. But let's dive into the actual full story. So, Ted Kaczynski, is that how we speak this? I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
I think you nailed it. I'm not a pronunciation expert, but I think that's it.
This guy right here, okay, for reference, was born 1942 in Chicago, Illinois. He ended up getting accepted to Harvard at 15 years old
That's crazy.
and started attending at 16 before he even had a driver's license. Right. Later on, he ends up earning a doctorate in math from the University of Michigan. Go Blue.
Go Blue. There you go. I don't know if they're proud of that alumni.
I highly doubt it. But there at the time, though, now check him out. He solved a theorem that had stumped mathematicians for decades. And his professors said that they had never seen a student like him. Okay, so let me. So the theorem is what I'm trying to figure out here. It's Fermat's last theorem. Andrew Wiles. No, I've got this one mixed up here, but we'll have to figure out later on, I guess. Asipa,
So-
if you can tell us what the theorem actually was.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. What Asale asked, so he beat out DB Cooper in cost to try to find him. So apparently, from my Google search, that's the case. And they spent $50 million over 2 decades trying to find this guy.
Oh my goodness.
That's crazy. I think that'd be a lot easier to do today because of the tech that he was talking about.
Fair enough. Very true. Very true. $50 million. That's crazy.
And that's back then. Right? Like
Right.
the purchasing power of 50 million back then, you're probably talking equivalent of like 250 million, if not
Yeah.
more.
Well over $100 million. That's crazy. So anyways, he solved this crazy theorem. So he's literally an actual genius. He's 16 basically, or whatever. I guess technically he was doing his doctorate, so maybe he's a little bit older at this point, but still, like he's a kid and he's doing this. And he ended up becoming the youngest assistant professor at the math department at Berkeley. And apparently the students didn't like him very much. He didn't really speak to them, and they had beef.
That's a recurring theme throughout his whole life.
People have beef with him.
Social stuff, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So eventually he just resigned in 1969 without any warning, and he moved to a 10 by 12 foot cabin outside of Lincoln, Montana. There was no electricity, no water, and no telephone. And one of those days he woke up to a roach falling on his face. No, I'm just kidding. For those of you who get that, you'll get that. And apparently, yeah, he was like super remote. His nearest neighbor was 10 miles away. And from 1978 to 1995, he was mailing and planting 16 bombs.
That's so crazy. Could you imagine, like, what do you do? I actually mail bombs to people. Like, that's what
I mean, just like the whole idea of him just being like in the middle of nowhere doing this too is like how, you know, there's got to be a lot of details in these documentaries about like how is he getting the materials to do this? Like,
yeah, they talk about it a lot.
So on. So
and he was self-teaching himself how to make these bombs, right? So the first few weren't as successful. So they gradually got better and better and more explosive.
Wow. So the thing that got him to finally stop bombing, which really he basically came to the press and was like, look, y'all published my manifesto and I'll stop bombing. And so eventually he does stop bombing when the Washington Post agreed to publish his manifesto. And when he did this, his brother David recognized the writing style and turned him in.
That was the crazy part, is that it was actually him and his wife, so his brother's wife, that was reading all of these. And there were some tells. Like anybody who talks, if you hear them talk enough, there's like little subtleties in things that they say or how they type or how they write that allows you to detect who the person is. And I don't think that the wife got along with Ted all that much. And so she was more like on him, being like, "This has got to be Ted. This has got to be Ted." And then
Word.
they said, I think they called in. They're like, "I think it might be Ted. Where does Ted live?" And then that's why he got booked. But What a Sale was asking, are there any pictures of him that he's not looking like disheveled? Yeah, so I'll show you one. This is young Ted. He was a handsome dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
young Theodore.
Poor Ted. And then he obviously did some. This is him when he's getting arrested. So yeah, but they do typically only share that picture for sure. But yeah, he also did kill people, so I get why.
Right. So yeah, so this ends up getting kind of interesting when we like look into why he's doing all of this. So we'll talk about it in just a second. But he was arrested officially in 1996, sentenced to life without parole. He ended up actually dying very recently. I didn't realize this. He died in 2023 of cancer. When I'm reading this, there's this line in here that is gonna need some explaining, but I guess we'll have to figure that out. Wait, so he had cancer, but then he also, I believe, hanged himself. Is what actually happened.
For how he fully went out?
Yes. Yeah, so that's what actually happened. But he also had cancer.
So he probably didn't want to wait.
Yeah, he was like, I'm out of here.
Through the cancer.
And that was at 81 years old. Crazy. And so, all right, so like, let's dig a little bit deeper into this. Like, what really was going on here? Ted grew up as a little quiet, kind of weird, hyper intelligent kid in a normal Chicago suburb. His mother told his younger brother, whatever happens to Ted, never abandon him, because that is the thing that he fears the most. In 5th grade, Ted takes an IQ test. He scores 167, which puts him at 1 in a million. So he skips grades, right? Which is destroying whatever kind of social footing he would have had.
Yeah, he had no chance.
And then, as mentioned earlier, he graduated high school at 15 and is at Harvard, the most prestigious university in the world, potentially, right, at 16 years old. So now another piece of the story that, Ben, you've alluded to a little bit earlier was that at Harvard, Ted actually volunteered for what's described as a debate study that was run by a man named Dr. Henry Murray, who was a professor who previously trained CIA operatives. Now, in reality, this debate study was a psychological experiment where students wrote essays about their personal philosophy of life. They're then brought into a room with electrodes that get put on their heads. And then they are subjected to what Murray himself called vehement, sweeping, and personally abusive attacks.
They're just roasting them.
Just going in on them. A law student is briefed specifically to destroy them using the essay that they had just written. So here's a quick clip helping to break down what this experiment was like in terms of what has been documented about it.
At the beginning of the experiment, Ted and 21 other participants were asked to write an essay on their philosophy of life. Once the essay was turned in, Murray took each subject into a brightly lit room and sat them in front of a one-way mirror with electrodes attached to their heads to monitor their responses to what would come next. Thinking they'd be debating their points of view, the subjects were instead met with a demeaning, high-stress, and intense interrogation. It was reported that the intent was to catch them by surprise, to deceive them, and to brutalize them. To preserve their anonymity, the 22 undergraduate participants were only referred to by code names. Kaczynski was referred to as his code name, Lawful. While being
It's an ironic name.
They were systematically destroyed with the information they had provided in their essay by a law student who had been prepped to inflict the abuse. Their ideas and values were ridiculed, and they were torn down to their wits' end. Session after session, they were challenged, humiliated, and forced to watch their character be degraded through playbacks of previously taped sessions, all in an effort to push them to their breaking point.
So that's the general idea of what was going on there.
Yeah, and there's...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
A lot of people have heard of MK Ultra, so there's a belief that that study was related to that whole thing. That's all. So go ahead, Keith.
Word. And MK Ultra is like the conspiracy of like, well, not. I don't think it's necessarily a conspiracy.
Yeah, I think it's pretty well confirmed at this point.
Yeah.
But
of CIA operations where people are basically undergoing several different forms of mind control or mind manipulation.
Man, and if you start looking into that stuff, that's a rabbit hole you don't really stop, because like you start thinking about why they started that, who was involved with that. It's pretty crazy the stuff that they did.
Right. Yeah. So and that like has like the thing that I learned about it, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it's like I thought that it was like a machine or something that was done that was like uniform in terms of like MK Ultra is like a thing.
Got it.
But I feel like it's not. It's whatever, right? Would get you to change.
Totally. It's like a directional thing. It's more of like an alignment of purpose where they're trying to attempt to do mind control via whatever means necessary. And from all the research that I've done on mind control, trauma is like one of the most used tools. And so that's not to say that it's the only way to mind control someone, but it's the one they know works. Right. So almost all of these rituals, almost all of these studies, trauma is a massive part of it. And like shame is a big part of it, because I think it makes the mind a lot more impressionable. So yeah, this is what happened to this kid. And can you imagine being 16 years old and like the only thing he probably had was his intelligence, right? And then he goes in there thinking it's probably gonna be, he probably thought he was gonna cook in those debates.
Right.
He's like, I'm gonna make some friends probably, and like they're gonna see how smart I am. I'm gonna love it. And then he's got shit on.
I'm so surprised, Brand One and Robbie J, you guys haven't heard of MK Ultra. That's crazy. I'm not even deep into that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's like pretty mainstream.
That's reached the zeitgeist, I'd say, for sure, for a little bit. But there's some crazy stuff in there. M. Green's on a 12-hour car ride. Dang, where are you going? That's long. Enjoy. But who knows things that I don't know? This is an extreme case of what conspiracy theorists people go through on the daily.
I mean, that's real.
That's real. I think collectively we're all kind of waking up to the fact that the world is pretty messed up. You know what I mean? And so I think that conspiracy theorist is becoming less and less of a derogatory term.
Totally.
Yeah, that's actually true. I did see this, not totally related, but apparently they put pharaohs in a trauma ritual. So leaders that have been through a lot of history, there's like, just to be a leader, like a lot of times they did go through really messed up shit. Like even like the Romans and whatnot, and like Sparta, you know, that whole era.
Mm-hmm.
The things that they did to train their soldiers was crazy, dude. Like they would subject them to do like messed up shit with each other too. Like there's like sexual stuff involved and a lot of these crazy things that allowed them to be super, super productive in terms of their military efforts. So it's crazy what the mind can do and what the US government was just doing on civilians to test this stuff, allegedly.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy to think about for sure. And I mean, obviously the most obvious thing that comes to my mind is when you look at like fraternities, you know what I'm saying? And like that trauma bonding that happens there. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on air or not.
Well, yeah, you are. There's so much cult like behavior in all of these things. And that's why when people allege that secret societies like run the world, they don't need to directly run the world. If the people that run the world were in secret societies, then in turn it's the same outcome, right? That's the thing that I think a lot of people go at Professor Jiang for, saying like, oh, you're crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist. It's like he's not even saying that like they are all aware or conscious that this is leading the ship. But if that's like one of your deeply rooted beliefs that shapes behavior, then how is it different? And as someone who's in a frat, like the things they made us do were fucked. Like objectively, I didn't do any of the crazy stuff. Like I would just say, I'm not doing this. And the frat was too new where they couldn't let people like not join. So like they're like, okay, fine, you don't have to do it. You know what I mean? But they try to get you to do some crazy stuff. And then the initiation rituals are super, super weird, very symbolic and very strange. Yes. So that's what I was saying. Yeah.
So yeah, I remember going to the University of Miami and like there was a moment where first off, all of the friends that I had before frat life, a lot of them, they were just gone. They they completely changed, completely on their own thing. Like, and that's just a part of that process.
Into the frat stuff, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
They kind of just yeah, like you lose friends to that, which is interesting because I'm like, nothing changed over here on my end. You know what I mean? Like clearly all of that was with them. And then so, and then the other thing was I remember during some of the pledging process, like there was one day where I went to go hang out with my boys in their dorm. This isn't even funny. Like it's messed up. Like dude was like clearly traumatized by something that
Mhm.
happened to him. And I was just like, dude, like I'm obviously not gonna ask you what's going on, but like, are you good, bro? And it was just like he was not good. Like something very, very bad happened to him that day. And I was just like, holy moly, like I don't there's no way that what they're going through is worth that. But to your point though, Ben, it's like the idea that not only are these people going through these things together and bonding closer and therefore becoming, like you trauma bonded and become blood brothers or whatever through that process. But there's also this idea that you've pointed to, Ben, that if you believe that that is the way to get people to do what you want them to do, if that is the way, right, to get someone through to the other side or to become a part of your gang or whatever, then that becomes the standard for what someone who's in a position of power would put other people through in order to get them there as well.
Totally. It's also a very vicious cycle because once they've got the trauma, if they get something good at the end of it, then they're like, I have to do the trauma to get the good thing.
Mm,
Right? So then you're all in on it. And so that's why I truly don't believe that that would be the only way to like shift thought and behavior, but it's one they know works. And once you've gone through it, you're kind of desensitized to the fact how messed up it is.
right.
Right? You're like, oh, this is what we do. This is how people operate. This is what we do to get the outcome that we need. And if you look at the world, like depending on your lens of analysis, it's effective to a degree, right? Which is really messed up in terms of keeping people together. I don't think it's the right way to do it, but it seems like how did the world get this messed up if people weren't doing that? If they weren't together, you know what I mean?
Hmm,
Coordinating.
hmm. Right, right.
We've not talked about his parable yet. We'll be talking about all this stuff. And also, for any of y'all in the chat that know more about this than we do, contribute lanes for us to go down. I'll always do that because you guys probably know a lot more than even we do in our research. So, and also in the comment section after the fact, anything we get wrong, please correct us in the comments. And things we missed, please give people a bunch of different information.
Totally. So to the story,
Mhm.
Ted was apparently in this
Study.
experiment that he was going through for like 3 years. Um, and he later wrote that it was in 1962 that he started to form his ideas of being against technology, which was the same year that that experiment ended. And
Mm.
it was the same year that he graduated.
Yeah, but he says it's not connected.
Interesting. So his lawyers ended up, by the way, when defending him, trying to use this Harvard experiment as a defense. And apparently there are still some classified records around all of this as well.
Which is crazy.
Super crazy. Um, so let's see here. Okay, so let's look at his cabin as well that he was living in, because remember he
Hmm.
randomly
This is
resigned.
this is the central point of the story. This is where he lived for a long period of time. He just like read books, he wrote, and he schemed on building these bombs.
So here's him in his little shacky.
That was his humble abode. Tux said, I interviewed for the CIA a year ago. The interview was a 2-step interview with 3 to 4 people grilling you. That's wild. And then ZMF said, building bombs from yard sale stuff. Is that how he got the supplies?
That's crazy.
That would make sense because the paper trail would be the problem of the acquisition of the necessary materials.
Right.
So you'd need something cache and ideally something that doesn't have like a central database where you could see and get a paper trail.
Yeah, great point. Um, and man, the CIA, man, what a crazy thing.
Bro, they're all messed up.
But anyways, so moving forward a little bit, 1978 was the first bomb that he successfully got through, I guess, at Northwestern University. And what happened was a security guard opened a package and ended up suffering a minor injury at the time. But this was when the campaign officially begun. Now, my thing about all this, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, is like, why is he sending these bombs to a university.
The selection criteria was definitely what made the finding of him so hard. So maybe that's why he did it. Maybe like thinking through how would they then connect dots, and so I need to make it scattered.
Yeah.
But it could have just been going all over the place.
So a year later, November 1979, there was a bomb that was hidden in cargo hold on American Airlines Flight 444, an altimeter switch designed to detonate when the plane reached cruising altitude. It ended up malfunctioning, but 12 people were treated for smoke inhalation. Over 100 people would have died if it didn't malfunction.
That's so crazy, man.
Yep. So
I struggle to follow the logic of like taking down people that he would even see as like innocent, or maybe he just doesn't see anyone as innocent if you participate in the system. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the part of it that sucks, is it feels like he's definitely like targeting, I mean, obviously he's targeting innocent people in an attempt to get his message across, but
yeah,
it makes the message less meaningful, I think. So here's some video of the airline bomb. By the way, I'm pretty sure all this music is going to get us demonetized, but we'll just keep it going.
Oh,
It was a wooden box that looked to be hand fashioned, handmade. We found that it contained a
Say that again.
barometric switch and some other initiating components, batteries, wires, and a container for the explosive charge. The barometric switch would function when the pressure changed in the baggage compartment sufficiently to close the switch or allow the barometric switch to function and then actually detonate the bomb.
You're muted.
Crazy stuff there. Definitely something that a high IQ individual would be able to think through. So, cool.
Yeah, I think it's a cool point by Carlton saying like a lot of tech is developed at universities. Stanford University is a tech hub, for example.
That's true.
So probably a combination of efforts, right? Like he got tortured at like I'm sure how he saw it at university, and then also that's like the ground floor for this tech gets created. So that's probably the thinking process.
That's a solid point there. So the Unabomber name, where did that come from? Well, the name actually itself came from the FBI.
They named him?
Yes. So apparently they gave the case the internal code name UNABOM and then :UN for, or excuse me, so the UN is for university, and then A is for airline, and BOM is for bombing. So Unabomb. And so that acronym became the name that the media ran with. But the man himself, Ted, didn't necessarily use the name Unabomber or anything like that. So 1985 came around, and this was the first actual death from his exhibition. Hugh Screton was the owner of a computer store in Sacramento. He stepped outside to pick up what looks like a scrap of wood in his parking lot, and his chest is destroyed. He has nothing to do with technology except the fact that he sells computers, according to the information that we have. And then you go forward to 1987. You had a witness seeing a man in a hooded sweatshirt setting down a package outside a Salt Lake City computer store. And the FBI sketch is circulated, and this becomes one of the most recognized images in American criminal history.
That's the sketch in the thumbnail. Yeah. That one's super famous.
That's our guy. So then after that, the bombings actually stopped for 6 years.
Dang.
Because Ted's waiting. He's waiting. He's like,
6 years is a long time to chill when you're this messed up.
That's crazy to think about. Like, how do you go back after that? Like, brother, like, let it go.
You got to the point where you bombed people, and then you're like, I'm gonna take 6 years off.
And like, what's the calculus on that? Maybe there was an actual calculus. Like, this is the point at which people stop being able to think or remember or whatever. You know what I mean?
Probably something like that, yeah.
That's crazy. So he's waiting for the heat to die down. And then in 1993, he resurfaces and does 2 bombs in 2 days.
Jeez.
He hits a geneticist in California and then a computer scientist at Yale. In 1995, he has his final fatal bomb, killing a lobbyist at the California Forestry Association. He also sends a letter to the New York Times threatening to blow up a random flight out of LAX on the 4th of July weekend. He has no intention of actually doing it, but he does want to see if he can stop the country and get his manifesto published. And it turns out that he kind of can. So in June 1995, he sends the 35,000 word manifesto to the Washington Post and the New York Times, and his demand is to publish this or the bombs will continue. And so here we are with the Washington Post in 1995 with the Unabomber's manuscript published within.
And you can still access it online.
And so, no, the interesting thing about this was that the FBI was involved in this, and they debated for months whether or not they would want to publish this.
Mm.
And then they eventually decided that the best chance of catching Ted was if someone were to recognize the way that he wrote.
Totally.
And so they let him publish it.
100%. And ZMF says, I don't know, y'all, fetishizing nutters is a dangerous thing. No one's fetishizing nutters. We're saying that this is likely going to be a conversation that's had a lot more. People, and we think people should know where this came from, because there's going to be a lot of people talking about it on TikTok, I'm sure, because it'll spread. It's a good story. It's easy to tell, and it's short form friendly. So yeah, no fetishizing. We don't agree with anything that he did. We don't condone doing anything like this. It's just something that happened that we think is worth exploring.
Totally. Yeah. No, not condoning or in any way promoting this kind of behavior. So they published this, and if anyone did that, it would have, never mind. David, his brother, reads this manifesto while he's in the library. He recognizes phrases that his brother has used his entire life.
Mhm.
He calls his wife, Linda, and she's like, yo, you got to call the FBI. And so here's a short from the Joe Rogan podcast of how some of this went.
Do you know what happened to the Unabomber? Do you know how that happened?
The brother?
Yeah. And then,
Well, because the Unabomber, as a kid, was always annoyed by people saying you could have your cake and eat it too. Because he's like, no, it's you can eat your cake and have it too. And the Unabomber used that phrase, air quotes, correctly. And the guy's like, that's my brother. And that's how they figured it out, because he was being a pedantic dick. Yeah. So everyone who's correcting people on spelling on Twitter, shut up and relax.
Oh, that's crazy. I thought he just recognized the style of writing.
No.
Do you know what happened to the...
It's funny that the brain rot beekeeper in the background. That's crazy. But yeah, so that's how they detected that they thought it was likely him, and then the tip was all they needed to then track him down.
Right. So in 1996, the FBI actually came through and knocked on his cabin door disguised as surveyors. And then as he steps out, they grab him. Inside the cabin, they found 40,000 pages of handwritten journals, bomb components.
40,000 pages.
Yeah. One fully assembled bomb ready for mailing, and the typewriter used to write every letter that he sent to the Times. Now, in one of his journal entries written in 1971, right at the start of his planning, Ted writes, quote, "My motive for doing what I am going to do is simply personal revenge," end quote. He also said, "I do not expect to accomplish anything by it. I certainly don't claim to be an altruist or to be acting for the good of the human race. I act merely from a desire for revenge."
Yeah, but in his manifesto, it's more like it's a different tone.
Interesting. In what way do you know? Like,
from what I've read, like it definitely had more of a tone that he was doing it to try to like say how to stop it, and it was less motivated by revenge than what this says. But
super fair.
Yeah. People can read the manifesto and decide for themselves.
Yeah. Because in 1971, that would have been a lot earlier on too. right? So that was when he started. Maybe it started that way, and he was just like, "This is how I feel. I don't care about anything other than personal revenge." But then it just turned into more of like, "Okay, well, I'm doing this. I should probably make a statement." Like, I don't know.
Probably to justify it.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about the manifesto. So it's titled "Industrial Society and Its Future." 35,000 words, written by Ted, individually numbered paragraphs. It's got a bibliography, right? So it reads like a doctoral dissertation because that's what he knew how to write. And in the opening paragraph, there is this most quoted line, which is, quote, "The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster to the human race. They have greatly increased the life expectancy of those of us who live in advanced countries, but they have destabilized society, have made life unfulfilling, have subjected human beings to indignities, have led to widespread psychological suffering. The continued development of technology will worsen the situation." So Ted's core argument is built around a concept that he calls the power process. And the idea is that human beings need work for them to be able to feel fulfilled. Not work necessarily in the sense of a job, but work in the more basic sense. For instance, things like hunting for your food, building your shelter, solving problems that actually matter to your survival. And when that is stripped away, when everything is provided and the only things you have to struggle for are the things that you invented to struggle for, then you become hollow. You lose the sense that your life means anything. He calls what we replace this with as surrogate activities: entertainment, social status, politics, sports, anything to fill the gap where there used to be real stakes.
It's definitely a thought-provoking lens of things, because when you hear people like complain about the state of the world, they more or less like point at the same thing, just with different lens of analysis, right? So like his whole point is that like technology is the root of these problems, or is it? And I would more so argue, is it the system in which the technology was developed that is the root of the problem? That's how I would view it more. But like obviously he's smarter than me, but he came to his own lens of analysis that the actual tech itself is the problem. And I guess you could theoretically argue that the tech is like a self-sustaining system, as he suggests, or it will become that. But I think it's more so the system in which it was built and the people whose incentives are there at the top. What's your IQ? Probably 4. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, so also like it always comes down to how tech is being used. And maybe it's like the argument is that human nature, right, is going to create technology that's used in a way that is bad for
it. Is that human nature, or are we told that's human nature?
I have no idea, right?
Yeah. Again,
but maybe that's his argument.
Yeah, 100%. And ZMF said a tool can't be the problem. I tend to agree with that. And then Brand said humans create technology. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So, so the core argument that Ted makes about technology is that it gets harder to dismiss as things go on. So let me explain. So he uses the car as his example. When cars were invented, they expanded freedom. You could go places that you could not go before. Nobody was forced to own a car. But as cars become standard, cities get built around that. Grocery stores assume that you had a car. Employers assume that you had a car. The infrastructure of daily life was redesigned for vehicles. So now the freedom to have a car becomes the impossibility of not having one. He says that all technology follows this pattern. What starts off as optional becomes mandatory. What starts as a tool becomes a system that you cannot exit. And at some point, there's no way to turn it off. Right?
Phone's the same thing.
Ties all the way back into the present. So Ted wrote in 1995, he said, people will let machines make more and more of their decisions for them, simply because machine-made decisions will bring better results than man-made ones. Eventually, a stage may be reached at which the decisions necessary to keep the system running will be so complex that human beings will be incapable of making them intelligently. At that stage, the machines will be in effective control. This was 1995. Okay. If you fast forward to 2026, we've got Elon Musk in court testifying in a federal courtroom that AI could also kill us all, he said. A federal judge had to instruct him to stop bringing that up because it was not relevant to the case, but he kept going on about it anyway. You also had Sam Altman publicly admitting in March 2026 that AI is killing the labor capital balance, and nobody knows what to do about it. So the man running the most powerful AI company in the world does not know what to do about the thing that he is building.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So Ted basically said, people building the system would eventually lose control of it and not be able to turn it off. The people building the system are now publicly saying they cannot control it. Okay, but they're also still continuing to build it. So that's where we're at today.
Yeah, so it's like, which one is true? Either way, they're messed up. Like, it's either messed up because you actually can't control it, like you're saying, or you're lying, and that's marketing, and that's also messed up that you're doing that, right? So it's like bad or bad. Pick your flavor.
Right.
What's that? You see something in the chat?
Yeah, I'm just trying to catch up to it a little bit.
Yeah. ZMF says, I support our AI overlords.
Salute. But,
and then, he says, isn't that part of our evolution? Just part of the process? We just have to wait for our species to evolve with our own consciousness. Yeah, maybe. I think there are different forms of intelligence, wisdom, street smarts, common sense, technologies, etc. Yeah, I think that the IQ metric is fairly limited in its scope of what intelligence is.
Yeah, someone pointed that out earlier. I forgot who it was, but it was like, this is what happens when like IQ is what we hold as like the supreme.
The only thing.
Yeah. Totally. So also in the manifesto, Ted wrote that if the elite plays the role of the good shepherds, humanity will be given enough food and a wholesome hobby to keep them busy, and engineered to remove the need for the power process. He called the end result reduced to the status of domesticated animals. Now, if you look to 2025 and 2026, you have AI companion apps and AI therapists that have become mainstream consumer products. People are forming emotional relationships with language models. You've got character AI that's been sued after a teenager has died by suicide following months of conversations with an AI companion the platform allowed to play a romantic role. I remember seeing that one. So,
and was that proven? Like that's a thing? Like that's actually gone through?
With the kid?
Yeah, like that's, how's that going? Like, where's the update on that? Are they in court?
Oh, I have no idea. But so Ted had predicted in his manifesto that people would be given technological substitutes for real human stakes and would eventually stop being able to tell the difference. That product now exists and you can subscribe to it. So moving on, another thing that he says, Ted's answer to the industrial system was small, autonomous, self-sufficient communities that do not depend on centralized authority for their basic functions. People who grow their own food, govern themselves, and cannot be cut off by a corporation or a government. Now, we talk about similar kinds of things around here. There's some notes that we have is that, well, if you're trying to decentralize authority, there are technological solutions, funny enough, I guess that's an oxymoron for him, that might enable that. So systems that operate without a central authority, for instance, currency that has no government that can seize it, smart contracts that execute without an intermediary, financial rails that do not require an intermediary or a bank in between. So the decentralization argument that Ted made in 1995 as a reason to burn down industrial society is a very similar argument that drove the creation of Bitcoin in 2008 and all of the decentralized finance that has come after that. So what do you think about that, Ben?
Yeah, I think that's something that, like, why I think that this guy will be brought up a lot more in social media worlds is because a lot of really viral content are talking about the things that and the points that he mentioned, right? In terms of like I've seen videos of like a bunch of videos saying like, what do we do when the world is collapsing? And they're saying to do the things largely that he said people should focus on. And so that's why I just think it's naturally going to be something that people discuss a lot more in these already very established communities where a lot of the pillars of the attraction from their like for their audience was a lot of the things that he's saying. So like I really hope that he doesn't become I hope his behavior doesn't become idolized in terms of people thinking like we should continue what he did. I think that's not the answer, but I do think that people will just naturally gravitate to him because it's very timely. Like the people that he hated, people hate now, right? And the modern day equivalents of it. And then also his answers are a lot of the same answers that people are pitching. But I love that you said that, like technology itself, I think saying that it's inherently the problem, I don't think that gives us the best outcome possible. I personally would want to try to find ways in which the technology can be decentralized, like you said. And that was obviously the thesis behind Bitcoin in general.
But on Chris, yes, we are going to be talking about that later on, actually.
Yeah, we do have that to react to.
Yep. So moving forward, Ted wrote in 1995, instead of removing the conditions that make people depressed, modern society gives them antidepressant drugs. Antidepressants are a means of modifying an individual's internal state in such a way as to enable them to tolerate social conditions that would otherwise be found intolerable. And then a parallel is brought here between, if you look today at some of the drugs. I mean, obviously, antidepressants alone have become much more prevalent.
And I also do wonder about that is if it's, again, is that perfectly designed by evil people or does the evil system just create the evident outcome? Do you know what I mean? Again, like I think the cause and effect of a lot of these things, I think sometimes we give people too much credit. I think that because if you just make a broken system, then everything will be broken around it. And you'll say, like, oh, this is because of this, this, and this. But you got to go back farther up the food chain to determine where this really originated from. So I think a lot of these problems are just from that. And I think money is like, like Jeff Booth's whole thesis, a character that's recurring in our stuff, is that how could anything not be evil if the foundational anchor of everything we do is evil?
Right.
Like, if it steals from you, how is everything else not going to steal from you? So
Totally.
yeah, that's where my head goes. And there's just so much deception out there. And it's also very easy to move the masses' opinion with mis and disinformation. And so with this much money at stake and also with people having different agendas, yeah, I definitely think that that's something that people should look into more, especially like if you've been diagnosed with something, like I wouldn't just blindly trust a system that gave you something. I would like do your own external research. You know what I mean? In addition to that, I'm definitely not saying don't listen to your doctor, but I'm saying understand who told your doctor what to say.
And Ben, you have a specific thing that you've talked to me about with that. Do you want to
Which
run
one?
through that? Like the idea that there's like a rule book.
Yeah. The DSM, I think it's called DSM. I've talked about this on a really early pod, but I'll try to. This is probably more in line with our audience now. So the DSM is the Diagnostics and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. And so if you go into like the origin of this book that is quoted like millions of times a year and like used to diagnose people for mental conditions that they then use to identify with for their entire existence, that of course conveniently has a drug attached to it as the only real solution, but you can never stop taking it. If you go back to the advent of when a lot of these disorders that were added to the book were created, the methodology that they used to create the book is highly suspect. Like there was like 12 people, again, and go do your own research. I'll try to find the video so that you can watch it in length or at length. But basically it was a lot of people just sitting down, having a fireside chat, basically saying, have you seen this enough in your practice to decide if it was a disorder or not? Just 12 people. Insane.
Yeah. So super fascinating stuff there. I still will definitely have to look into that as well. But I mean, it wouldn't be super surprising when we look at all of the continued, just, unscrupulous behavior of the medical industry, especially in the United States.
It's also like the second you get someone to say, I am, we have this deep, unrelenting desire to maintain consistency and have some form of identity. So as soon as I give it to you, you will fight to maintain it, even if it's the root of every problem you have.
Totally.
I see it happen every day. Like people will be like, oh, I can't do this because I'm this. It's like you are giving yourself that identity and you're literally like forcing yourself into pain. But it happens all the time. And people don't even realize it's taking place.
No, totally, man. And then, so another parallel to some of this is like, so Ted said, once again, instead of removing the conditions that make people depressed, modern society gives them antidepressant drugs.
Yeah,
And that's
like
a
bread and
specific
circus
example.
too.
What does that mean?
So bread and circus is essentially like, it's mentioned a lot more now that the world's messed up, but basically it's like this philosophy that all you have to do to keep the masses in control is give them bread, so enough to eat where they won't attack, and give them entertainment, so circus for so stupid things to care about.
Gotcha. Totally.
I found the video, by the way. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Run it.
So I'll just put it in the group chat. Sorry, the description.
Okay, cool. So the idea that right now what we're also seeing is these GLP-1s, that Ozempic, Wegovy, and like these are these massive, fastest growing drug categories in history.
Mm-hmm.
And were initially prescribed for diabetes and weight loss, but now being studied for things like addiction, anxiety, depression, and compulsive behavior. So it's almost like a drug that can make you comfortable with not having to change who you actually are or the things that you need to do to make your life better. And so instead of removing the conditions that make people fat, anxious, depressed, compulsive, you just give them a drug instead.
Because it's a product.
Say that again.
Because it's a product. You can't, if you can solve your own problems internally, how do I sell you something?
Well, I mean, I could sell you a gym subscription.
Yeah, for sure.
You still got to show up.
But the real money isn't really made from the gyms. It's everything around, like the serious money. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Bread ain't good for you either. That's awesome.
True. So basically Ted said society would find pharmaceutical ways to make people tolerate conditions that they should not tolerate. And
it's
very obvious what's happening now as well.
Totally. And he says Charles Barkley on ads for GLP-1 is crazy. All these like celebrities advertising some shit that's crazy.
Yeah, facts, man. I mean, the more that, so being in Toronto, the thing that I found interesting is looking up at the billboards. There's some like soccer footy guy who's on a billboard, and it's a beer ad. And I never really thought about that either. But it's kind of always the case that the celebrities are used to kind of like promote things that aren't necessarily healthy.
Yeah, because they're trying to say like, oh, you can still do this and get their life.
Right.
So then you go do the thing, you ruin your life, you stop your chances of ever getting close to that. You know what I mean? And then the cycle continues. Yeah, we've seen, and then also you made a video recently about the barbershop, because we went and saw the barbershop that has the sponsored by FanDuel shit. It's crazy.
It's a real thing, folks. It actually exists.
I didn't make it up.
Yeah. So moving on, Ted described surrogate activities. Once again, these things that basically replace real actual work or like survival. He described these as things people work for that have no real stakes: status, engagement, followers, attention, type of language, right? He said these fill in the gap by the removal of actual survival stakes from daily life. And if we look forward to today, right, the creator economy looks a lot like these things. You've got $100 billion industries, millions of people that have left traditional employment to build audiences on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. The thing that they're working for is not like food, shelter directly, but more metrics, views, subscribers, watch time, algorithmic behavior.
And we're in that too. So it's like
Mhm.
important to say that we're not better than that. We're in it. Where my point of distinction is if you're using the tool consciously,
Mm.
right? Like most people are purely being driven by the tool itself. The amount of
Mhm.
people that are actually using the tool to seriously get more for their life than they're giving to it is incredibly few. Very, very few.
And to describe what you're really saying here, there are people, and oof, like there are people who use social media to get views without necessarily thinking about what their
Why?
end goal is or why.
Yes. And then they get on the hamster wheel of I do this because I do this. And then they start chasing metrics that don't actually matter. And then everyone else is also giving the same advice that's also bad. So they continue to chase these metrics. And then you usually stumble your way into making enough money where you just create your new 9 to 5 hamster race or whatever, rat race on the hamster
Totally.
wheel. I combined the two. But that's it's true, man. It's become like a modern day scam because all these people are like, oh, here's how you blow up. You blow up by like, and I saw this one post where like the new MLM is guys telling you to create your content and they teach you a course on how to just post it, bro. Right? Like there's very few people that actually understand how to grow a business because a business is actually freaking hard. Right? Like you need attention to grow a business, but attention isn't a business.
Right.
Right? Like that's the distinction. And so I was lucky where like I was always thinking of this from like what is the actual utility that this can bring to me to amplify my life. And that's why I've always been obsessed over building leverage through the tool and trying to take as much from it without like giving myself to it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? I would say I've learned way more than I've like spent on watching brain rot on these platforms. And that's why I think I'll have more agency over where I go in my life because I'm trying to be at least consciously there.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to a specific example of like as a creator what some of this activity could look like. There was this guy, it is this guy, his name's Supreme Patty.
Oh, yes, I know who that guy is.
And like his whole thing basically was like, how can I do something more extreme than I did yesterday
That's so fucking dumb.
in order to get people to watch what I'm doing, you know?
But that's kind of what everyone does.
Well, especially if you're not consciously doing anything,
Yes.
right? Because that's the only like, because subconsciously that's what he's. I mean, eventually maybe you're smart enough to be like, okay, well, this is actually what the goal is. It's like I'm going to
Yeah.
create a 10-day challenge of like, how can I do something more insane
Crazy.
today than I did yesterday?
But it's also I made a post on No Dice in my personal Instagram last night explaining why we're also it feels a lot scarier than even things actually are because of the incentive structures of these platforms as well. If again, most creators, people give them way more credit than they deserve in terms of what they're consciously doing. A lot of them are just like spraying and praying, right? They're like every idea that comes to their head, they're also using AI to like make as many pieces of content as possible. Okay, now think about that at scale. Everyone's doing this, right? Innately, the thing that scares the most people will perform the best. So then when they go through after making hundreds of videos, they look back at their data and they're like, oh, do more of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually everyone's doing that. Like the whole AI wave, that's really what it was. And I think it was partially manufactured by these AI companies. But there's also just an organic spillover effect of that just happening because other people want the attention and the money they think they'll get from doing the same sort of shit.
Right.
What'd you see? I saw you laughing.
Rafi J. Davis. So anyways,
I think they think we don't know about what.
hold on real quick, dude. Hold on.
What's
hold
up?
on.
What's up? What's
Right
up?
back.
Okay, cool. Chat, how we living? What's up? Lifestyle changes community. Yeah, come on in. What up?
Man?
Is that you, Keith?
What good,
What's up, people? Yeah, we're like 10 feet from each other. That's awesome. How y'all living? What a showman, eh, Keith D? Love to see it.
That knocked down.
That's awesome.
But so basically, another piece of this is when you look at the car example, that Ted makes when talking about how basically technology starts off as freedom. I can go further, I can go faster, whatever, and then that becomes a trap. When cars arrived, you could go further, but then you got like things like the smartphone, same thing, right? Over the past 20, 30 years. In 2007, there was a time where it was optional. In 2026, your employer is sending Slack notifications to you at midnight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now your bank almost requires an app to access your account. You're on the go. You're swiping your card. Like, oh, I got to refund my account, whatever. Your children's school communicates exclusively through certain platforms, and medical records, certain places that require specific apps and whatnot. So Ted basically predicted this pattern, or observed this pattern in 1995 for every technology, and was describing a process, not a specific device. So those are some of the major parallels that we found to what Ted has been talking about in 1995 and the things that are happening now. And then
There's some funny stuff in the chat.
okay, let's catch up to it.
Some good stuff. So in terms of YouTube never notifies you when you go live, that's super annoying. So if that ever happens, turn off your notifications and turn them back on. Sometimes you got to refresh that connection. And yeah, he did teleport to Canada real quick just to say what up. So I appreciate for you coming through, Keith. And
yeah, so bet on Chris. I saw your comment on my videos. A lot of you guys were
they caught it,
yeah, we're catching on to that. And it's funny, some people are like congratulating me on the new setup. I'm like, oh, that means you're not a part, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you're not tapped in.
You're not tapped in, bro.
Got to go work at some plumbing. Amazing. Go enjoy.
Oh, enjoy your day, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, we created wormhole tech. Is that as soon as we got on the UFO guys on, then they got us connected with the right people, and then we're good to go.
100%. So now let's talk about some of the counter to some of this, right? Apparently, Ted didn't necessarily believe in the power process for himself. He preached the importance of small communities and human connection, and then spent 20 years alone in a cabin, fantasizing about, destroying the lives of people who were on the other side of society. Now, in his own private journal, not in the manifesto that he sent to the press, but the one he wrote for himself, he said his motive was personal revenge, not saving humanity, but revenge for not fitting in, essentially. Now, Hugh Scruton, which was one of the guys that I believe he attacked, owned a computer store in Sacramento. He had nothing to do with the industrial system as Ted described it. He was a family man who happened to sell computers. And Ted basically killed this guy because the bomb needed a target. Right? So it's like, what sense does that really make?
That's crazy.
There was a secretary at Vanderbilt who opened a package meant for a professor who also was not participating in anything, just doing her job. So the strongest critique of the manifesto is not that his predictions were wrong, it's that his solution, destroying everything, was definitely not a real solution. And it was just explosions that were dressed up as a thesis. He even admits in paragraph 167 that billions of people would die in the breakdown of industrial society. And his response was, can't eat your cake and have it too.
That's what did him in.
You said what now?
And that's what did him in. That's why he got caught.
Right, literally. So, cool. So that's pretty much that conversation there. Any other thoughts that you have about the Unabomber situation and how it relates to tech and everything that we're seeing in society today?
Yeah, a bunch of things come to mind. I think that this, why I'm pretty confident that people will start talking about him again, was that all the attention that Luigi got for that thing, that what he did, right? So I just think that it's inevitable people are going to start talking about this again. And like, I hope that they find, because education is good. That's why people are like, oh, you shouldn't, like, if people say you shouldn't be talking about this, I think that's silly, because I think that's how we get to bad outcomes. I think education is important, and like trying to see what he was saying, but also you have to understand the emotional state that he was in while saying it, right? And so then hopefully when people have the full context, they don't just take anything that was said by him as gospel, right? Where a lot of people latch on to things. And so it's like someone who is in a very dark place and does evil things can have some good points, right? And so it's like maybe like just take those and leave everything else. And I think like if anything, this is like a cautionary tale that people should learn from, of like why we shouldn't be exclusive, like why we should be more inclusive, why we should try to holistically look at problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A perfect example of, I guess, like the art and the artist, right? Separating them. Um, yeah. I mean, he definitely clouded his statements and his points with his actions.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that. That's impossible to argue. But again, like I think that the message that I would take away from this is that if someone that crazy can predict something with the degree of accuracy that he has, maybe we should explore it.
Maybe we should start listening to crazy people.
That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying like maybe we should have the conversations with like the fact that we should demand more say in like how our lives get governed. Do you know what I mean? Like we do outsource all decision making criteria and agency to these power structures that we are saying out loud are messed up, right? So
Mhm.
I think agency has to come internally. Like I think what I really strongly disagree with him is how he just says, "Oh, we're all cooked." You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't like that. I'd rather look for a solution. And imagine if he had to put his, I'm sure he would have said he wouldn't have gotten anywhere, but like a mind like that, imagine if he was being put towards positive things, probably could have achieved some pretty amazing stuff. But I guess he'd
Yeah.
probably argue that he did. So that's the problem, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm just trying to catch some of these comments, but yeah. I think that's all super valid, man. But that's all for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Unabomber. I recommend going to read his manifesto because he got that thing posted. Like that's pretty crazy, man, that he got that thing done, and it's still available online.
Totally.
So if you got some time and you want some reading, and don't get too sucked in, but it's worth reading to see.
So Mads on Demand said, "Crazy does not equal smart, but genius often leads itself to madness." I think that's a very, very
That's
interesting
cool.
statement.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then they say that humans are intelligent, but only few humans are responsible for the world we live in today. Technology is invented by few humans. Few humans invent these technologies. That was definitely the case before, but I think it is the creation of these things is getting more and more democratized. The lack of democracy or decentralization usually comes down to like where governments get involved, right? Like that's because they dictate who does and doesn't get contracts, who can and can't do things. But it is somewhat changing, right? Like even look at what we're on right now, the media. Like when would normal, like everyday, not in the weeds people be able to talk where other people could listen? That wasn't really a thing. So that's democratizing.
Totally. Interesting stuff in these comments here.
Is there anything you want to throw up?
Well, so Robbie J. Davis, I think you make an interesting point here. It's like, would the Unabomber have been heard if he didn't use his methods, though? Not that his methods were right, but would he have been heard?
That's for us to decide, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like maybe the methods. Listen, what I'm trying to say here is, it's just like the people that he target. Like, brother, there's probably like a ton of evil people that you could have targeted. You know what I'm saying? And made the
Yeah.
same statement.
Yeah. I don't know. It's all messed up. Obviously, I don't think anyone should go
No.
around inflicting violence, but Artie's, that's a fair point, right? That would we still be talking about him if he didn't do that? That's probably not. So I think taking the good that's there in terms of like agency over your life, agency over your decisions is what I would take away from it. But that's all for me.
And yeah, and then so for what I said there, like the evil people, like obviously that's going to be a subjective thing, right? Because a lot of people point to Luigi Mangione and like what he did to the United Healthcare CEO, and I'm like, bro, like that's crazy, you know. But it all comes back down to
Perspective.
It comes back down to like, why are we attacking the players? And in a way too, like he's just a guy playing the game. He's not the person who created the rules. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But do you
think enough people
of a company?
I just don't think people would understand how to like even know where the rules are.
Well, I mean, probably our legislature, technically, right? And that's now I'm not once again, we're not saying that you go to the legislators, but we're talking about the legislature itself. And you think about, okay, if we really truly believe that things should be different, in what way?
Yes. So much energy is put in towards saying that things are messed up and very little in terms of what would it look like if it wasn't. Like such a small amount of energy. And even some like really smart minds are in that toxic trap of just watching doomer content over and over and over again. It's like, you guys have so much energy and potential that you could be putting this towards constructive things, even in a smaller scale, even just for yourself and your family would be a better use than like feeding this doom machine.
Totally.
But that's everything for me.
Phosphate said, to warn them not to play the game would be the answer to why are we attacking the players? A game without players is a dead game.
That's great. Opt out.
Totally.
Phosphate's always got great comments.
Facts. So cool. Yeah. So with that, I think we can move into the second half. What do you think?
Let's move into the second half.
And we will do that, but we will not have our animation today. There we go. Fantastic.
Because it's still copywritten music in it.
Yep. So this was breaking last night. Citron's Andrew Left found guilty of stock manipulation. This guy, who is the founder of Citron Research, was convicted on 13 securities fraud counts. He took positions, then used tweets to manipulate stocks like Tesla and Nvidia. He made around $20 million by misleading investors through his social media posts.
And what is that company again?
Just a research company.
Didn't they release one of those like big AI articles recently?
Different company, which sucks for them right now because they're definitely thinking that that's who it is.
No.
But this is Citron Research versus, I think that one is called Citriani or something like that. That's too funny, dude. What's the name of the other one?
It sounds somewhat similar, right?
Citrini.
Yes, Citrini, yes.
So they're definitely not happy about this. But so also this guy actually posted last night. I don't think a lot of people saw this, but he said, today I was found guilty, amongst other things, for recommending Tesla, Nvidia stock, and Meta back in 2018. Not once did anyone say I lied. The government's own agent admitted it on the stand. There were no false statements. So now a truthful opinion that ends up making money is illegal. Is this America? We disagree with the jury, and this does not stop here. We will keep fighting for free, honest speech and opportunity, the backbone of this country. This is not over. He got community noted, saying that Andrew Left was convicted on 13 of 17 counts of security fraud. He was found guilty of falsely stating his own positions on social media to pump stocks before selling, not for giving honest opinions on Tesla, Nvidia, or Meta. Quoting the Justice Department's actual release here. So, yeah, super interesting. From Beverly Hills to Boca. He used his TV appearances to disguise his intentions, manipulate the stock market, and pad his pockets. A fair and transparent securities market is the foundation of our nation's financial system. We will continue to bring justice to individuals who abuse the public trust placed in financial advisors. Okay. Yeah, so super interesting here. It was only a 15-day trial. I guess maybe 15 days in the courts. So there's the full piece from the Department of Justice there. Any initial thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, all these laws seem so like gray in terms of like who they apply to, right? Like I see things that I feel like people have done that is more in line with that and more extreme, and they're walking around no problem. So I don't know.
Totally. I mean, that's one of the biggest things with the SEC and whatnot. And that's the thing, too. He got hit with the Department of Justice case, but also a civil SEC case, I believe. So technically, when you get into the criminal realm, it's a different situation. But with the SEC in general, like they don't go after necessarily everyone.
Yes.
They go after the people that are moving the most money around.
Got it.
And that they can get the most money from. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
Which, you've got limited resources and you've got to make those kinds of decisions. But then it comes down to like, what's the criteria for making those decisions? What does it really look like? So anyways, cool. Moving forward, something that happened, you could call it news. Trump has been talking about how it's time to audit Fort Knox's $667 billion in gold reserves. So this was an interesting piece. All of this coming out right next to the 250th anniversary of the United States. I personally think that that's an interesting time to be bringing this up again, because it came up a year ago. Why are we talking about it now? Right? I don't know. There's been a lot of speculation around what will happen to the 250th anniversary regarding some sort of a new bond issuance, some sort of a new revaluation of how debt is viewed and things of that nature and whatnot. So anyways, just something to keep an eye on. Simon Dixon had some thoughts on this. He said, look, it's not going to happen, but that's one way to crash the dollar. The gold sits on both the Fed and the Treasury's balance sheets, and there are many more derivative contracts that rely on it as a good lender of last resort. If anybody actually asked for the gold, there wouldn't be enough physical metal to back all of the paper contracts. So interesting thoughts there from him. Anything on that, Ben?
No, I think that I have a feeling like something will happen for the anniversary for sure. But who knows? It could be gold related. Could be, who knows? But it seems like that happening, these things happening, it does all seem like conveniently timed for something.
True.
But we'll see.
Moving forward, Bernie Sanders puts out a video and puts out some ideas for having the AI companies being owned by the public. So he announced a bill for 50% public ownership in top US AI companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, and xAI. The American AI Sovereign Wealth Fund Act he introduces uses a one-time 50% stock tax to create the fund. This aims to share AI trillions in wealth for public benefits such as healthcare, education, and housing, and gives Americans direct stakes and input on AI decisions to counter private control. So he put out a full video about this. I'll play a little bit of it.
Hey, everybody. Thanks very much for joining me. I probably don't need to tell you that artificial intelligence will almost certainly be the most transformational technology in the history of the world. It will profoundly affect the lives of every man, woman, and child in our country, and in fact, throughout the world. It is already bringing significant changes to our economy, our democracy, our emotional well-being, our environment, and how we educate and raise our kids.
So he basically just goes on, he makes the case for why it's a good thing for the public to own some of these AI companies. I'm not smart enough to be able to think through what it means to have a stock tax. I don't think I've heard that concept before. I have to really sit and think about what that really means.
Mhm.
But certainly an interesting concept, because at least the capital itself, right, isn't necessarily being taken away from the company. But what incentives does it create to tax the stock? And definitely the mechanics of how that would actually work would also be super interesting. So I'll have to dig more into that. Any initial thoughts?
I don't really think that solves the alignment problem, though, that much, in my opinion. So I think having these conversations is a great thing. I think that we're not going to land on the right outcome off the first few rips. So I think that battling people's thoughts and opinions is a great first step. So like poking the holes in it, seeing where the logic is flawed, and then trying to come up with something better. But yeah, it's just too much power has been consolidated, and this was going on before AI too. I just think people are now really aware of it because AI now immediately threatened their own safety.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like consolidation of power, resources, and control. That's been a problem for a long time.
Mads on Demand said, as a non-US citizen, every time I see Bernie, I remember the meme. What is the meme?
Which meme? Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree. I mean, once again, when it comes to Bernie, it's always hard to.
Oh, this one. Yeah, this one's classic. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll share it here. You remember this one with the mask?
No, I don't understand the context either.
You don't remember that meme?
Mm-mm.
It was a viral one.
What happened?
I don't even fully know. It was during COVID, obviously, I think, because the mask thing. But it's used in a lot of different contexts. But that was the image.
Let us know. Let us know, Mads on Demand. So anyways. Okay. So Anthropic, speaking of AI, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, these conversations are being had at the right time, I guess, or maybe it could have been a little bit earlier, but Anthropic just files for a potential IPO. So they have confidentially submitted their draft S1 to the SEC for a possible IPO. The leading AI company behind Claude, founded by the ex-OpenAI team, is behind this. And this follows a massive $65 billion funding round at nearly $1 trillion in valuation for the company. Employees and investors could see huge payouts, and the AI sector is watching this very closely. So that's one thing going on there. Everyone's asking me about that. I'm like, looks, yeah, confidentially, yeah, I saw the tweet about that too. Confidentially, and then tells everyone. So Florida has actually come out and sued OpenAI and Sam Altman. The Florida Attorney General James Wuthmeier filed the first state lawsuit against OpenAI and CEO Sam Altman, alleging that ChatGPT was released and marketed despite known risks of self-harm, violence, and addiction in minors. So the ties are back to the 2025 FSU shooting when they're...
I think for a lot of these companies, like, they know that they're eventually going to have bills to pay for breaking rules, but they don't care. Because if you move fast enough, it doesn't really matter in their grand scheme, right? Here's the other meme that they were talking about from Bernie's campaign. I'm once again asking for your financial support.
Yeah.
That's another one that was used a lot. But yeah, I think that's another thing that I think about so much is the laws that are, like, especially like even just the IP laws that goes into training these models. Like, that seems so messed up.
True.
But I think it's just such a massive shit show where people don't even know how to properly fight it.
I mean, it's just crazy. And to clarify what Ben is talking about, these AI models are bringing in data and information from all these different places in the world where that work has been done by someone else. right? So it's taking in like books that were written or movies that have been written, and like those are someone else's intellectual property. These are just other things that people have created for the world, and now
Mhm.
these AI models are taking that in and training on that, and then using that to come up with new outputs, and that leads to other things that are built on top of that, and so
Mhm.
on and so forth. But like, how do you attribute back to the original person that was responsible to some degree
Yes.
for making that possible?
And like Keith has mentioned a bunch of times that if we even use a clip that has a copywritten music in it, we don't get the money, right?
3
And
seconds of
yeah,
some music.
and these fuckers are taking everything from everyone and paying no one, and then saying, "By the way, I'm also gonna take your job."
Right.
It's
Yep.
crazy.
Yep. Totally. And even to the idea of, Facebook and Meta monitoring their employees, right? Coming up with
To
solutions to
train,
literally train the AI to take their job. So it's pretty
because
wild.
that's the thing, like, the whole AGI conversation is basically like, can this thing fully train itself? And what's the thing that they call it? Self-iterated something, something, I'm screwing
Self-reinforcement,
something like that.
self-reinforced learning, something like that.
Basically, can an AI continue to teach its AI so that it reaches the point of intelligence that's beyond our comprehension? And that's the promise that they're saying, but I have a really hard time believing that, having used AI enough to understand that unless there's like really rigorous guardrails put in place to stop the wrong idea, it goes down the wrong idea way more aggressively, way faster. Right? So if it's going up like this, it's like the game of Jenga, right? Where like, you're pulling things out and it eventually falls over. Kind of feels like that's what they'd be building through this self-iterated learning, where at the top, then it'd be like such a shaky thing.
Mm. Right. Right. This is another conversation is like, since these AIs have run out of real human information to train on,
Mhm.
they're now having to train on synthetic information,
Yes.
which is coming from the AI itself.
Recursive self-improvement. Thank you, Brian.
Recursive.
Yes.
That's the word.
Yes.
And so if all of the information that AI could consume from real sources, real people, is already done, then now it has to go to other synthetic information that is created, that other AIs have created.
Mm.
But that creates a problem where the feedback loop is, well, some of that stuff's wrong.
Yeah. Yes.
And so now eventually there will be more synthetic data than real data. And if
Oh, totally.
most of that synthetic data is slop, then most of what is being trained on is also not good.
Mhm.
It's faulty data.
That's why I think general AGI is crazy. Domain specific, maybe, like ultra use case specific, maybe, and it's gotta be monitored a lot, but then at that point, it's that AGI. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
These
mhm.
terms, like, most of these terms are just, like, buzzwords because everyone has different definitions for them. So it's a fascinating, like, all this stuff will be studied in terms of, like, the psyops that are currently taking place, because you can only tell they're a psyop once it's proven so, right? Like everything, right? Like, you don't know it's a Ponzi scheme until it falls over. All these things in
Right.
life, right?
Yep. So next piece that we had in the news was Strive, which is Vivek Ramaswamy's asset management firm. They purchased 2,500 Bitcoin for $185 million.
Wow.
They now hold over 19,000 Bitcoin, ranking among top public corporate holders. This is an anti-ESG firm, and they are aggressively building a Bitcoin treasury like MicroStrategy. The move signals strong institutional conviction amid recent Bitcoin price dips.
Yeah, or everybody wants a piece of the action, like, in terms of the business structure, right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm sure they see how much money is being made from having a company like this,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
every subsequent one that gets involved, like, I'm sure they think, like, that the risk goes down, right? Because there's more people strictly accumulating, then that's more pressure.
More buying pressure.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Super fascinating concept. But yeah.
How many of them are there now?
I mean, who knows, man? There's definitely a very nice amount of them just for Bitcoin alone, and then you've got other crypto assets that people are starting to go after too.
We got ETH with Tom Lee.
Yep.
Tom Lee
in the building. Cool. So then after that, I think, one other piece. X just launched a new feature in the last, I guess, 48-ish hours, where you can react to Twitter posts with video. So essentially, you can tap repost on your phone. For now, it's only on iOS, I believe, as well.
Classic.
And record a reaction with green screen, split screen, or picture-in-picture, which lets anyone add video commentary directly over original posts. And I think this is very interesting, man.
Super interesting. Also, because a lot of their issues are those aggregator pages that we've talked about, right? Where none of that work is being done by the person who actually owns the page typically.
Right.
Right. So like that sheer volume of content now, anything you can do to like suppress that, because even like famous people that you see on Twitter, I really don't like that you can just do this where they basically just become massive theme pages around their personality. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not adding anything extra. They just literally just rip off the news and like throw it in there. And then these massive pages they keep growing. Like it's a really stupid system. It doesn't incentivize individual creators or creativity. And so I think this kind of puts a little bit of a blow in them a little bit. They'll need more features to pull it off. But yeah.
Yeah.
People are misusing it already. How so?
Sure. Yeah, what do you mean? So curious. But yeah, it's definitely very easy to get content out that way.
Yeah. Mads is a great point. This is going to create a lot of new 15 minutes of fame. Definitely. Because there's a lot of people that are actually really smart, are really creative, but they haven't been able to break through in the bullshit that is the Twitter algorithm, where they will now be able to react to something and ride that. Because if you're new to using the feature, there's the supply and demand equation. There is always, they reward people that use the feature the fastest.
Right.
And so there's a lot of people that will build 15-minute careers or fame on doing it. Hell, I might be one of them. We'll see how it goes.
Well, 100%. That's my goal. Cool. And then now I think it's time for some reactions.
Show me what to react to.
Yep. So time for the memes. I guess this is how I should say it.
Okay, I'll play it. Where'd it go? Did we lose a SEPA?
No, he's there. All right. Okay. So some things to react to in the internet's world. We had this guy, Mo Gaudat, on Diary of a CEO.
Mo, sorry, you're going to explain how he is.
Go ahead.
So Mo used to work at Google. He was pretty closely connected to their AI initiatives, and he was really the first person that came out publicly to start blowing the alarm on what AI would become years ago. I remember listening to one of his first ever big podcasts when I was driving, doing a really long drive. And he also wrote a book called Scary Smart, I think it is, about how the future of AI is dependent on us. So sorry, I just want to give some context. Go ahead.
Perfect. And so he's an Egyptian man. He's an author, and he's the former chief business officer of X as well.
Yeah. Oh, of X too? Wow. I didn't know that.
And so let's watch some of his comments that he made about democracy and some other things as well we'll dive into on the Diary of a CEO.
The democratic process plays its role and we just elect someone else.
Does it really? Don't say that.
I don't know. You tell me.
Oh, no. I think democracy has ended a long time ago, Stephen. I think we live in the most corrupt time. I don't know about history, to be honest, but this is definitely corrupt. Okay? This definitely is not democracy. This definitely is not even congressional in any possible way. And people are angry. You know, people are angry because their tax money is going to things that they don't choose to that don't benefit them, that, lots of regulations in the system are being ignored. I mean, I choose not to speak about politics perhaps until my next book comes out, but look, we have video evidence of people abusing children, and not a single person got arrested. Not a single person. I mean, how can you call that a democracy? I think repeating those slogans is gonna anger people even more, if you ask me. People know that they're being lied to. People know that their leaders are not representing their best interests. People know that their money is going to causes that they don't really approve of. And ask me how civil unrest looks like. I don't know, and I'm not calling for it, but I'm hopefully calling for the politicians to start to become aware that this is crossing the lines everywhere.
Any initial thoughts on that one, Ben?
It's tough to argue with Mo on that one. I think a lot of people feel that everywhere. And I think that the divide is just getting so large that I think every day these politicians that are claiming to be righteous or having your best interest at heart, their arguments are getting worse and worse by the day because there's more and more overwhelming evidence that that's not the case. So, and if they don't pitch a solution pretty soon, then much like you said, I'm not calling for anything to happen, but it's like, how would it not? Like, look around. You know what I mean? It's an inevitable thing. Just look through history. You don't need to make some stuff up. Look backwards. It happens all the time when we get to situations like this, which is also why I believe that the 250th anniversary will be some sort of announcement. Right? Because it does feel like it's building to that point where these conversations are being had. Everyone's kind of getting groomed for, okay, we got to roll in something new. So again, how much of this was coordinated? I don't know. But if they don't, like, people are losing reasons not to do crazy shit. They're running out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How about your
Totally.
thoughts?
No, I mean, it's definitely, he's put the voice to the things that people have been feeling for quite some time. I mean, even if we're being honest, in the United States, this past year has definitely exposed for anyone who was, I imagine, for anyone who was left, who had faith in any sort of democratic process, I think that's been betrayed. So, yeah.
Yeah, this last year was kind of like globally when you realize that like your parents got a problem, you know what I mean? And like you used to think they were perfect, and then you see them in a state and you're like, oh wow, like that's not what I was led to believe is the reality at like a way more extreme scale where it makes you question like everything all at one time. So I think, yeah, a lot of people are very traumatized by realizing all of these things. And also it's also extremely more so painful because I'm sure a lot of people also fought to protect something they now realize is like not good. Right. So then now there's so many more emotions wrapped up in that make it even more difficult to know how to proceed. And so I think people don't know how to do anything, but they have all this energy, so they're directing it in the wrong places and really making the problem worse. But I would agree with you, Mary, that so many politicians are tone deaf. It's crazy, man. It is absolutely crazy. That's why I don't really watch the news here in Canada, is because when I hear them talk, I just get so frustrated. So, yeah, and they're so out of touch, and there's like this elitist mentality where it's like, oh, you guys just don't get it. It's like, brother, you don't get it. But yeah, it'll be super interesting to see. If he releases that book and it's about politics, I will buy that for sure. Because I'd be very curious to see, because he's been pretty close to the root of all the tech elites as well. Sure. But I do feel like he's pretty sincere. I'd love to have him on the show.
Most certainly. Mo, we'd love to have you on. Moving on, he had some words for OpenAI and Sam Altman as well on the podcast. Let's hear what he had to say.
First of all, I mean, Sam's entire existence, if you ask me, starting with OpenAI, that's supposed to save the world by creating a safe AI, then making it a commercial enterprise that's worth billions, and backstabbing a few people in the process. And I have him on Chasing Utopia saying, clear, I quote, this is exactly the words he said. You can find it online.
Chasing Utopia is your documentary.
Yes. So he basically says, well, I don't suspect that, I suspect that AI is likely going to end humanity, but we're going to create a lot of interesting companies in the process, right? I mean, those kinds of statements are honestly not the statements of someone who's not decided. It's just the statements of someone who's being taught more and more by his PR agency or PR manager to say things as per a script, right? And the script, as you rightly said, had an objective and a target either way. And Sam Altman, in one of my works, I used to say the Altman is a brand; it's not a name. Okay, if it wasn't for Sam Altman specifically, there would have been another, Silicon Valley disruptor that would have done the same. I don't blame him for beating the market for it. The interesting challenge here is that who do we believe anymore? Who do we believe in technology? Who do we believe in politics? Who do we believe in the middle of a war? And I will tell you, interestingly, I started to change my mindset in terms of believing those who put their actions where their words are. So Anthropic coming out and saying, I'm not going to allow my model to be used for human targeting and surveillance, right? That's someone that's losing a $500 million deal because they stand by their ethics. The next week or the next, I don't know, couple of weeks, OpenAI takes the contract. That's someone that's basically telling you it's good money, right? And I have to say, you have to start observing who's actually behaving in a way that is making AI work for humanity and who is behaving in a way that is making AI work for their share values.
Thoughts, Keith?
I mean, he's laying it out, and it's crazy because he's coming from the inside, right? So it's not like he's just talking. He's Google, he's X, he's seeing the way that these people are moving, and that's cool. Right? It's cool to see that he's willing to come out and say these things about the progression of how this has gone down, OpenAI to what it has become, and here we are.
Yeah, I don't know Sam, and I probably never will, but certainly when you hear him speak, it doesn't give you a feeling of comfort. So I think that it's these are questions that have got to be forced. Like, we need answers, right? A lot of these things, and I think the conversations are the best place to start. And then, but he's right. If it wasn't Sam Altman, there'd be somebody else doing this too. Like, the people in that world, someone was gonna run with it and do it. It's just the stories attached to it are definitely concerning, and there's a lot of misdirection as well. So yeah, it'll be super interesting to see. Do we have anything else from him?
Yep, a few more.
Cool.
So this next one is about AI and how it is much more like a child than we think.
Can those machines become our teenage children that look at us and say, Daddy is so annoying, but I love him?
So the thought is that even if AI is more intelligent than every human, we can still control it.
We don't want to control it. You never control anything. This control idea is a corporate capitalist view of the world. We never actually control anything at all, right? Think about your day. I know you came today. I think you were filming in the morning or whatever. Very stressful day. How much of that day did you actually control? Did you control the traffic? Did you control your timing? Did you control the angle of the cameraman? Did you include? But so many things that you don't control eventually turn out to be fine, right? How many of us ever controlled our kids? Ever?
Sometimes the kids don't turn out to be fine. Sometimes they kill you.
Sure.
I watch a lot of documentaries and true crime. Sometimes they turn around and shoot you.
Sure. And what's the difference between the two?
I don't know.
How you parented them.
Sometimes.
Almost all the time. You may not be aware of exactly how you messed them up, right? And unfortunately, parenting is the only high-risk sport that actually does not require a driver's license, okay? And it's quite interesting, how many of our children are being exposed to things that can completely mess them up. But there is a reason why they're messed up.
So on this point, though, so we can control an intelligence that is significantly...
We can appeal.
We can appeal to it to make sure it doesn't kill us.
For sure. The challenge we have today, as I keep saying, is that our dystopia is not the result of AI turning against us. Our dystopia is the result of humans telling AI to turn against us.
Where'd your mind go?
I don't know, man. That's stuff I'm gonna spend some time thinking about, to be honest with you. But I don't like the idea of pleading to technology to not kill us.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too chill.
That's my first reaction. But yeah, I don't know, man. That's interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think that's that point of control. I think that's a powerful one because I do think a lot of people they crave control so much that it ends up actually causing them more pain than anything else. Because most things he's saying nothing can actually be controlled. So it appeal to hey guys, it'll be just fine. But yeah, I definitely think that the stakes are seemingly very, very high. Where I also think that you got to think that people would be more willing to discuss like systemic change because of the stakes here, right? Especially if he's saying stuff like that, you'd be hopeful. But yeah.
What about what's your take on the parenting thing that he said too? Like,
I think it's so hard because parenting is such a complex task, and there's no one size fits all because each person is unique, right? That's why it's such a difficult thing, because I know that some of the same experiences that I went through could have very easily led me to being a really bad person, and I would have been able to justify it, right? But I was able to gain consciousness at a younger age than most for whatever I consider consciousness. There's still plenty of levels I got to go, but I was able to see why behind the curtain a little bit more, I would say, than most people, and so I was able to use what would have been a justifiable reason to make me really shit to try to make me the best that I can, right? And so then it's such a complex equation. I do agree with his point where he said it's the only high stakes sport where you don't need any sort of license. We talk about that a lot. We're like, man, they should, it should be. I don't know how you solve that at all, but it's one of those things where I definitely do agree that parenting is such an important thing, and I also think that parents can get a lot from parenting as well. And I think that this whole push for people having less kids is also a big reason for why there's so much doom. When you're around a child, it's very hard to be unhappy. When you see the joy on a child's face and they're just genuinely curious going through the world, you realize how dumb most of the shit we cry and complain about really is. Right? And I think like a lot of people are not getting that experience now, and I get to have that whenever I see my little niece. And I know that like I've seen what it's done to my sister and my brother-in-law, that they're happier than they've ever been. They got no sleep, they're struggling financially, and they're over the moon. Which is so beautiful, cool. Right? So I think that that's another thing too, where I think, like when you're thrust into a position of authority, you kind of rise to the moment. I think a lot of people haven't been forced to rise to the moment. So selfishness is still a very big thing because people don't have kids.
Super real, man.
That's a very interesting point here. We lied to our children from day one. Look at the Santa Claus in the whole Christmas, Easter thing. We're talking about basic traditions we lie to our children about. So that's a philosophical question there too, right? Is that lie bad? Are all lies bad? That's so hard.
Yeah. I definitely think that the Santa Claus thing is a pretty unnecessary lie.
Yeah.
Personally, because it's one of those things where I don't know, like I think subconsciously that probably messes with you because you don't usually find it out from your parents either.
So the pain is finding out that the lie was a lie.
Yeah. And from someone else. Right? So you're like, wait a minute. The heck, what's going on at home? Like, what's good with the people I'm supposed to trust the most?
Yeah, what is the purpose of that? Why can't the good things be coming from us?
Yeah.
If you decide to do gifts or whatever.
Yeah. Like you got kids going to school, getting their worldview shattered by their peers when they realize that Santa Claus isn't real.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Thought.
That's totally fair.
Some lies are just myths. Not sure all of those are bad.
Lies for fun are a different thing. I'm not saying that it's not a lie. I'm just saying, like, do people like I think most people would probably say that they think the Santa Claus lie is pretty harmless, but it depends on how you look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that one's a tough one, man, because it's like it's something that you get so excited about, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's a big part of your childhood. At least for me it was. I was like, oh, but my parents also didn't really do that with me. Maybe they did for a while, but then they were like, this is from dad, on that thing, on the gift. So
Totally.
that was hilarious. It's funny to think about it in retrospect, but yeah, like, yeah, I don't know. Interesting
It
stuff.
is. It's definitely silly. Like the whole Santa thing is definitely funny. Like it's like, and then collectively people just do it because it's what they did. It's what happened to them, right? So they just keep doing it. So it's definitely a thought provoking question.
I feel like we talked about this once on the pod already, but like the way I realized the tooth fairy wasn't real was that I didn't tell my parents, but just put my tooth
Good
under the
test.
pillow.
And no money came.
Nothing happened.
That's
I was like,
awesome.
why is my tooth still here?
That's wild. Yeah, see, sorry, is that the end of the story?
Yeah.
You got more? When for me, my similar story would be Santa Claus. Like I knew Santa wasn't real, but I thought you stopped getting gifts if they knew that you knew. So I'm like pretty old, and my grandpa's like, "You still believe in Santa, Ben?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do, man." Like, 'cause I thought if I don't, I don't get gifts.
That's funny. That's actually pretty good, because that would be potentially logical. It's like, look, if you don't believe in
If
it,
he's giving me the gifts and
he's
you guys
not
are
coming.
keeping that going, do those gifts go away when I stop believing? But yeah,
that's hilarious. But yeah, it's also that idea that like the parenting that you do, like I don't know if I totally agree with him. I mean, there's certain things that like, okay, it might be no, because even genetics, like, but maybe you count that as parenting, right? So like the genetics that I passed to my kid with the partner as well, like that combination creates a certain disposition in the child, and now I'm responsible for everything that child does. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I didn't create my genetics, you know what I mean? Or their genetics, my partner's genetics.
Yeah. Yeah, that creates another complex question of, because I think every collection of people, genetics, predispositions, all this stuff creates unique challenges, but are any of them truly unsolvable? I think that comes into question, right? Because as a parent, is it saying that you didn't have a really hard hand? Like, no, you might have had a harder hand, but was it possible to like get something good from that? Do you know what I mean?
Right. And I mean, there's an argument obviously to be made that you could do everything directionally.
Yeah.
Right. But then that doesn't mean that you don't still have edge cases.
Definitely. And then that comes into philosophy again, like, what's your lens of analysis? Does the end outcome be the only thing that matters? Then in turn, it wasn't the right thing that you did. It's tough. It's an impossible question to answer.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mo, I would push back on you that everything that happens is
parenting
up to the parent. Because I mean, there's no way, brother. Like, you can, once again, but I think his point is you can point to something that happened while you were a parent.
Yeah.
Right. That led to whatever
like
occurred.
The snowball effect of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's deeply connected to a lot of things, but I think now more than ever too, because I think I would have agreed with him more before we had access to the technology that we have now in terms of information. You can change your path and course on your own a lot more than any time in human history. Right? Like you can get into a different belief system, and if you are who you spend your time with, you can spend your time with pretty well whoever you want online. Right? So I'm not saying you should spend all your time online, but who you do spend time with online really, really does matter and shapes your reality. So I think there's a lot of people who like use bad parenting as a justification for a bad life when they could change that if they really wanted to. So difficult point.
Yeah. It brings me back to a book I read last year called Genome by Matt Ridley. And he outlines, it's breaking down the human genome. It's a really, really good read. It's older, but it's really good. And the reason it matters is that it's older is because like genetics has improved massively since then.
Yeah.
But the point that he makes towards the end of the book is making the distinction between determinism and fatalism. And so fatalism is this idea that like basically no matter what, your kind of like your genetics in this example will lead to whatever outcomes you'll have in life. But determinism is more of the idea that your genetics do put you in a position to where things can go a certain way, but there's things that you can then do to react to your genetics, right? That will change the outcome of your life. And once again, it's I'm using that example because he's talking about genetics in the book, but he's not just talking about genetics, right? So there's a distinction between fatalism, the belief that the future is sealed no matter what you do, and determinism, the idea that your actions have causes, but what you do still matters and shapes outcomes.
Got it.
So anyways,
that's super interesting.
Philosophy for people.
That's great. So some good comments in the chat. Like what Assail said, maybe Santa Claus is the first lie they know you will find out. So it's a lesson in life that all things are not as they seem. Interesting perspective. And then another great point by Helio Font saying the world can also just randomly and suddenly alter the trajectory of a child, right? That's totally beyond the control of a parent. Also, when you send your kid off to school, like what can a parent do about the trauma that takes place there too, right? And then Mary said, parents should not be 100% responsible as children have their own identity early on, of course.
Yeah. Totally, man. People are people, man. They're gonna people out. There was another clip from Mo that we wanted to play here. Let me get that going on.
I think I'm still sticking to AGI 2027, artificial general intelligence, for those who may not know the term.
And what does that mean?
The overall definition, if you want, is that AI is better at humanity at any task humanity can do.
You think that's going to happen by 2027?
I think my AGI has already happened. I mean, think about it, huh? AI writes better than me, and I'm an author. And researches better than me, and I'm a thinker. Sadly, it's freaking beat me in mathematics. Like, I have no hope to beat it in mathematics anymore.
If AGI is already here, then why are you still here? Because people said that when AGI arrives, we're all
no. So when AGI arrives, as I said, most of the jobs that are not differentiated will go away. But the jobs that are differentiated, those who master AI the most, will become even better at.
It also leads you to think about, does having the right answer matter as much as knowing it's the right answer? Right? Like a calculator can do math for you, but does it know math?
That's real.
So that's really what a lot of these systems are doing. So yeah, I don't know. The whole AGI term is not something I've ever been too fascinated, like too attracted to. But what are your thoughts on it?
I honestly don't know enough about the topic.
Okay.
But what you just said made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, well, I just think that a lot of people, they try to, what's the word where you attract like living attributes to something that's not living,
animation or personification of something. But
I think that's the appropriate way. It's like they try to personify this when I don't think it's as crazy as they make it sound. I get why he's saying that, because he's saying that like, I can't compete with it at math. But again, like if you don't tell it to do the math, it's not. At the current point, I don't believe that it's coming up with many new things. It's pulling from things that do exist and it's finding them faster than you can in less effort. So it's like, does that make it smarter than you? Maybe more efficient for a specific task? But I think the AGI thing is a little overblown in my opinion, but time will tell. And it also, like, I don't know how long they can keep this thing going on where like they give us these AI models for the costs that they're giving them to us. Like that's so not sustainable. So I'm curious to see that when it inevitably has to change, how they do that.
Fair.
And
what is, yeah.
That's the word I was looking for as well.
Heliophat, yeah. Anthropomorphism. Yep, cool. All right, the next piece, moving on to a different podcast between Dave. We had Dave Collum and Simon Dixon on, I believe, the BTC sessions.
Yeah.
cool. So he made some interesting comments about the Federal Reserve. So let's listen to this.
For many years, I've actually said that if you think the Fed works for the United States, you're dreaming. The Fed works for multinational banks, which have no sovereign ties whatsoever. So this is like, we've gone full Nathan Rothschild, right? We've really crossed the Rubicon. This is, I'm just gonna, here's what I keep next to my desk. It's a box cutter for slicing my wrist.
Oh dear.
or hijacking a plane. I don't know, one of the two.
So he's not very optimistic.
No, not at all. But yeah, I mean, that is a big piece of how the Federal Reserve System really works, even on paper.
Mhm.
They're owned by the member banks. So the way that plays through in the governance of the system is not as direct as just ownership being governance rights, but on paper, they are owned by the banks.
On a percentage-wise, how many people do you think need to understand how the banking system functions for it to ever actually change?
You know, I unfortunately don't look at it that way. Like, I don't think it matters how many people know.
No.
I think what matters is whether or not, and this is something that I've thought about more with you, is like what agency people think that they have.
Mhm. That's so true, right? Because even asking the question of what would it take for it to change is thinking that we can't just change it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, even today, like collectively, if we all just decided to, and I'm not saying a Bitcoin standard is the solution. I'm not fully there with Jeff yet.
Everything else goes to zero.
Yeah, I'm not there yet, Jeff. Maybe in time. But the fact that human beings actually have that theoretical option, agency is the entire pivot point. So yeah, great perspective.
Yeah. Dave Collum also has some other
Dave's
thoughts.
hilarious, bro.
Yeah, he's cool. He's
funny,
chill.
man.
We gotta have him on.
Yeah, I definitely want to have him on.
He made some statements about the SpaceX IPO as well. Let's hear it.
Oh god, this will be good.
SpaceX IPO is fantasy, in my opinion. It's priced at 100 times sales, which is just ludicrous. The fact that they have to jam liquidity into the system to accept these IPOs tells me that we're in a dying, gasping final phase of capitalism. It just feels truly terrible that this kind of crap has to occur. I watched Larry Fink on stage the other day saying, look, harsh reality is all these data centers are going to have to come out of the pension funds of the capital is going to have to come out of pension funds of mom and pop. And I'm going, and then what you're going to do is you're going to default on them just like broadband in the 2000 bubble, and you're going to fuck the pension funds completely. And so again, gasping capitalism.
It is a scary thing to think about these large of IPOs at this time. You know what I mean? Like it's like the worst storm possible.
Yeah, I actually did a little bit of a reaction last night to on Twitter to this guy here. I'll bring it up real quick.
Let's play it.
So this guy said, "Why would anyone buy crypto right now, Shah, when stocks are actively doing this?
Everyone's making money.
Everyone's up. It's up. It's going crazy.
Crypto's not. Why? So what was your reaction, Keith?
And so my reaction was this here. Why would anyone buy crypto right now when stocks are actively doing this right here? I mean, come on, right? Like stocks are literally ripping all-time highs. Why would you be buying crypto when stocks are at all-time highs? I mean, okay, guys, what are we doing here? Stocks are literally at all-time highs. Listen, I'm not saying that you can't buy in all-time highs, but what I would say is that sometimes the best thing to do is no thing at all. In fact, we have this bias called action bias. In reality, we always want to do something. Our brains are wired to seek the dopamine, right? But sometimes you just chill out, man. Just relax. It's okay. You're not missing out on anything when Nvidia is up at 85 times, you know, their book value. Like just relax, hang out. And if anything, why wouldn't we consider buying the thing that's not at all-time highs, that is very likely to go up? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know down below. Hit that like button and follow for more like this. So yeah, so just in general, right? There's no chance personally that I would be investing into the IPO stock of these AI companies, because, well, almost every IPO, we went over this on the pod, I'm pretty sure, it goes down usually first couple of years, and then maybe you get a spike back, maybe. And these are the highest valuations that we've ever seen in the history of capital markets. So
yeah, and everyone is still so adamant that crypto is purely correlated to like other things, right? Like stock market performance, etc. I think there's a very real scenario where like stocks could tank and crypto could do really well, right? Because if there's mass exodus, like how many other places are there to go?
Now this, yeah, I think you've got a really good Sharp said Keith and Charles Hoskins in mode. Yes, funny. But I think that, okay, so first off, we have seen some specific crypto assets detached from Bitcoin, at least, in the past couple of years here. Specifically, I'll name Zcash. Specifically, I'll name Tron. So we have seen some weird levels of complete detachment from what Bitcoin is doing. And then also, Ben, you've made the point in some of our conversations here of like, also where are the alternatives and how those are becoming less and less of a thing. So when we look at bond yields, right? People are talking, everyone's talking about how all over the world bond yields are rising.
Dude, there's so many things that are going up in price that if you truly understood them, they're uninvestable. But they just keep getting money flooding into them, so the price keeps going up. Right. So it's like if you truly understood what was going on, yes, the price is up, but like you'd be even more terrified by that reality. Like most of the companies in the S&P 500, I would not touch with a 10-foot pole.
That is the conundrum of today, is like you're constantly on the sidelines for watching something go up to incredibly high prices. But the higher the price goes, the more unrealistic the valuation is. And the more likely it is that at some point it's going to turn over. So it's really tough to invest in an environment like that.
And that's most markets right now besides crypto. Like if you look at the stock market, you look at Pokemon cards, there's a lot of euphoria going on, man.
Totally. And so back to your point, like bond yields are going up, meaning bonds are selling off. And so if that's happening all over the developed world, then when you're taking money out of stock, if you were to take money out of the stock market, where on earth would you be putting it? You're not putting it into just straight cash. I mean, you could hold some cash, but most of the time, if you're a large institutional buyer, you're taking that money and you're putting it into bonds to protect your cash from inflation. But people are selling bonds at a sovereign nation level. So then it leaves you with gold, silver, precious metals types of assets, or even potentially into assets like crypto. So it's interesting, but I definitely think that you make a good point of like, if you do take money out of stocks, where on earth is it actually going to go?
Because you have, like, why is there so much FOMOing into assets? It's because they realize that this game is, we print way more money, so the stuff you have today is going to be worth way less tomorrow. So you got to flood it into something that can hopefully beat that pace, right? And so that doesn't stop if stocks go down.
Totally, man. So let me push forward. Simon Dixon also actually had some comments. I think it was the same pod. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I think it was.
On crypto and decentralization. So let's see what he had to say.
All the innovation of that, which is why Larry thinks a psyop to the Bitcoin community, which is why Michael Saylor's a psyop to the Bitcoin community. Because all of the innovation around all of that once you get to the realization that the battle is centralization, central banking, central bank digital currencies versus decentralization, and you realize that all the crypto scams, all the stable coins, all the CBDCs, They were all psyops to take you away from Bitcoin. All the Wall Street wrappers, all the ETFs, all the borrow against your Bitcoin and custody it here. All of that was to distract people from what's really happening. Now, they don't want to get rid of the actual. It's kind of like, I always liken it to the British Empire always allowed the tax havens to exist because the elites wanted them. They want Bitcoin and self-custody to exist because they want to use it.
Oh.
Jeff agrees with that as well. Obviously, I think a lot of Bitcoiners believe that. That's why Bitcoin maxis are like everything besides Bitcoin is a shitcoin. That's where that thought process comes from. And the more you see things go on, it seems like more and more of that there is merit, right? In terms of that being a potential reality where people are just trying to distract from what even the concept of decentralization is. So you create this mass amounts of attention in things that aren't decentralized to basically seem like that would be impossible.
Yep.
That's a great comment. I watched Simon Dixon's video this weekend. I ate dinner in the dark after that. Yeah, he's very doomer. I'm hopeful that we can get him happier because I think that he could really make people feel more positive. But obviously, he's just saying what he believes, I guess.
Yeah. Ben was actually just talking about that. I think it was like yesterday. He was talking about how Simon Dixon makes you not too happy after listening to what he has to say.
Well, he basically just says, he talks for 10 minutes to say we're cooked. Well, I don't think that's true, right? I think collectively, if you get enough people who believe they have agency, then that changes the dynamic. I just think he doesn't think that that's remotely possible. I think I have more faith in humanity than he does. And maybe I'm an idiot for that.
Less more. First time I've gotten a notification.
Well, good. Someone's getting them at least.
And that's 2 hours in. So I
yeah,
don't know what's going
bro.
on.
YouTube is such a pain to deal with, man. So yeah, make sure your notifications are turned on for this channel. They're only ever going to be live streams, and then any of our clips channels you can find just from going to look on our main channel and seeing all the different ones. We've got a crypto channel, we've got a news channel, we've got a general clips channel.
Totes. So another piece of things that have been happening on the internet culture recently. There's this guy named CoffeeZilla. Okay, if you don't know him, he's a guy. He does like basically like YouTube investigative journalism, and he exposes people. Like that's just his whole
thing.
And there's this very popular internet character who goes by the PBD, Patrick Bet-David. Okay, this is his name, and he hosts a conference every year. And in this conference, essentially over the past couple of years or something, he had someone who sponsored the conference, gave him $1 million to be the title sponsor for the conference. And when he did that, this guy ended up eventually becoming a convicted scammer. Okay. So CoffeeZilla is coming at PBD and he's saying, hey, like, is anybody going to hold this guy accountable for what he did? And here's a clip from him actually having a conversation with Patrick Bet-David for his YouTube channel over with Voidzilla.
Every year, no matter how much money the company makes, I've chosen to not take any money off the table, meaning none of this money comes back in my pocket. 100% of the money is reinvested in what we're doing. I don't take an income. So it's not like I know to the public, it seems like this is, you know what, you make the money. I didn't make the money. The money's in the business.
Yeah, but you own the business, though. You own the business, which has the money.
But if I found anything, do you think this is worth it to me to go through this? Do you think it's worth it to me to have Steven on CoffeeZilla make a video and I'm getting video saying, hey, what charity do you have that you're getting? Do you think it's worth it for me to do this? You think the juice is worth it? Like, you think if I knew this is who this guy was, I would have done this? What do you, Steven, respectfully, your opinion. Do you think if I knew this guy was fraud, I'd take the money from him? Your opinion.
I think there were insufficient like checks on this. And you agree with that.
The question, though, you're right, they did. Now I know.
Yeah.
What I'm asking you is the question, and see if you can, at least I've been fair with you, see if you can be fair with me.
Sure.
Do you really think it?
Man, PBD would do great in a sales role. You're muted. You're muted.
And well, that's how he built his empire, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's because you see what he did there, obviously, right? Like, is that relevant to the point that's being made? Like, no, but he knows it's something that you theoretically can't argue that's in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
Do
It's
you
like,
know
I'm
what I'm saying?
rich.
Yeah.
Why would I take $1 million?
Why do I need to do that? I don't think the question is why you need to. I think the question is why I did, you know? So, yeah, interesting. And yeah, CoffeeZilla is always breaking the latest things in the world of like scams or whatever, or potential scams. And that's why he also grilled a guy in the whole Bitcoin treasury community as well.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee did.
Right. Gotcha. Like the most recent thing a couple weeks ago, right? With the
yeah.
that guy. Yeah. So yeah, like, and I understood both sides of this. Like Patrick Bet David said, like, you know, $1 million isn't gonna like move the needle for me. But also his claim of like, oh, that's not my money. That's a crazy statement. Like,
why is that crazy?
Because it's like, brother, like we're listening. People who are listening are not stupid. Like we all have, we have businesses. We know how business works. Like, yeah, it's not your money in your pocket. It doesn't mean it's not your money. You own the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's still your money. You have control over that money. You know what I'm saying? So just because it's in a trust doesn't mean it's not your money, brother. Like, come on, bro.
That's like semantics at that point where it's like, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Which from a business perspective, I do understand, like obviously, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you having control over the money that you're receiving for the thing that you've sold.
Yeah. I don't think his argument was like all that compelling or strong for absolving guilt there, but yeah, I don't know. I wasn't there, but yeah, I've been around sales guys a lot in my life, and the best ones always talk like that. It's like I wouldn't trust them with certain things, but I would trust them to sell things. I'm sure that's why he made a lot of money.
Right. So yeah, the last thing I was gonna say was like the point that I don't even know what I was gonna say, but oh yeah, like he basically throughout that whole conversation just doesn't say he's saying that they could have done better, but he doesn't really apologize for making the mistake, and it's just silly. Like it's really just like, brother, like just. But I think it's a legal thing too. Because he's like, I can't say I apologize because that means that I feel like I did something wrong. I'm like, you know, so he's like, I can't really say that I apologize, kind of thing.
Totally.
So, yep. So that was a fun little thing going on in the internet. We've also got another clip from Porter Stansbury, who wrote a book recently and who we'd love to have on the podcast. Porter, come on through. Making a statement about the economy.
How long in 1971 did you have to work at the average pay to buy an F-150? And the answer is about 3 months. Okay. Now it's 18 months. So what happened? Is Ford gouging everybody? Right? Is that what's going on? No. What happened? Our currency was debauched, and therefore the real value of your wages has been debauched. And that's why people are not dedicated to their jobs anymore. If you told those employees, I'll pay you 3 times as much if you come to work every day, what would they say?
Yeah, they'd probably show up.
Exactly. And that's what's happened. So the real value of your wages have fallen by about 75% over the last 50 years. And as a result, people are simply making wise economic choices. One of the things we discovered
that part right there, I think, is the part that made me question some of the assumptions I had. And frankly, it may change the way that I manage some of our companies, right? Is you make the argument that actually the individual, let's just take a 25-year-old
economic
male.
actor.
Yeah, let's take a 25-year-old male who says, you know what, I know that my grandfather or my father, he used to go to work 5 days a week. He'd leave the house at 7 a.m. He'd come home at 7 p.m. And he got paid what he got paid, and he built the life that I was able to enjoy growing up. Now, I'm not going to the office 5 days a week. I'm going 3 days a week. I'm going Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and on Monday and Friday, you're lucky if I get a little bit of work out of me, but you still got to pay me. And actually, you need to pay me more. You're claiming that he's a rational economic actor.
He is. You're pretending to pay him, and he's pretending to work. That's exactly what's going on.
We talk about that all the time.
That's interesting. Yeah, you have been talking about that a lot.
And I think the only answer is that companies are going to have to pony up like things that can be earned, right? Like earning a piece of the pie, right? Because otherwise, like, why would they not? Like, I get why kids don't want to do the jobs that are there. I get it. And so I think that the next wave of companies that really, really win are those that say clear expectations, like this is not going to be easy, but if you win here, you'll get compensated proportionately. Right?
Super interesting, man. It brings me back. I'm guessing this was probably not too far off from when Pop made this tweet. Yeah, in fact, yeah, because Porter even responds here and drops his book. Look, he said, the debasement of the US dollar has been highly destructive to American society. We have young people who can't afford a home, gambling, and corn ads that are being shoved in our face. And a large portion of people are walking around in a state of depression or anxiety. We went from long-term thinking and strong morals to a population of speculators who can't focus for 5 minutes. It's all tied back to the dollar's destruction. So that's the piece of it that I think is like, that stands out to me, is like, people are so upset and it's so hard to figure out where to point the anger.
Because both sides are screwed.
The system.
Yeah, totally. Because even these young companies, like, would I love to pay people way more? Yeah. But I don't have the money to do that, right? And so it is a systemic issue at large. And that's why I think what we're trying to do is really the only current option. Is you get people who understand the state of the world and you set clear expectations and say, if this happens, then you get this. I think most people are cynical about business because there's a lot of extraction going on, right? Or there has been. But again, I think more systemic problems.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's an interesting thought, Ben. And it does all point back to just even the democratization of technology as well. It's like people who are talented, you've got to find different ways to get them aligned because you can't use cash almost. It gets really hard to.
Especially if you're a startup, how do you even get the cash?
Yeah.
Without handing over so much of control over the business, which will probably end up screwing it up.
Right. Yep. So yeah, super fascinating thoughts there. But yeah, so Porter, would love to hear you break down a little bit more of what's in your book.
Yeah, he would crush it on our show. So definitely please come on. Carlton, good point here saying, and people should be paid by the second and not every 2 weeks. Logistically, that'd be really tough. But I definitely understand the sentiment.
Why would that be logistically so tough?
Paying them by the second? How would you even possibly do that?
Well, that's what you use the blockchain for.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, given current day payment systems.
Look here, ADP. Ben and I will do a consultation with you where we'll show you how you can facilitate the payment of your employees by the second using blockchain rails. Let's go. Call us.
Yeah, I think the more that people understand what blockchain can enable, I think people will start demanding its use. But yeah, you should definitely show that.
Yeah, because I mean that's definitely an easier use case. That I mean, incentives have to bring that right to where people want that or care enough. But for sure, you could be getting paid by the second. Micro payments flowing into your wallets in the form of USDC or whatever.
Totally, like that is possible. But I'm saying, like, if you're running a business with all the other rules, like I'm still waiting to get paid from an invoice that was paid a week ago from Stripe. Right. So like if my employee wants to get paid by the second, that's pretty hard when I don't get paid for a week.
No, for sure. That's why we go for ADP. Look here, ADP. You're at the center of it all. Let's do it. But yeah, so let's see here. Keep it going here. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. In fact, I was inspired by these posts. So this guy said, I recently came across a theory that AI has started making more mistakes because the internet is increasingly polluted with AI slop. The idea of AI cannibalizing itself into obscurity is one of my favorite things ever. I hope it's true, and I hope it becomes impossible to fix, says OMG Sidewalks. Jim Stewartson said, it's not a theory. It's called model collapse, and it creates a hard ceiling on chatbots that they're all facing right now. They already stole all the human data. It's just slop left now. It's like putting a plastic bag over your head. Breathing your own exhaust is a bad idea. So we've touched on that quite a bit already, but that is something that is going on. Another thing here is that Michael Burry is at it again.
Predicting the end.
He is slamming the NVIDIA by XAI GPU deal, calling it a fugazi.
I love that word.
He has called The $5.4 billion GPU sale to Shell XAI uses the chips in Grok Data Center. Valor SPV holds title off both balance sheets. Apollo funded a $3.5 billion piece of the deal in terms of debt, and then they sold to Athene Annuities backed by U.S. retirees. High leverage in $103 billion level 3 assets spark fears of hidden AI capex risks on retiree savings. So I'm not super familiar with this deal structure here, but it definitely seems that Michael Burry doesn't like it. Yet again, he's been calling against these AI hyperscalers for quite some time, no?
Definitely. But I don't think that many people are debating that things are messed up. I think the real question is, does it matter?
Does it matter?
I mean,
Does
like,
it
how
matter
long?
in terms of will it
Well,
affect
even-
anything?
Yeah. Well, you and I talked about this last night, right? Like, everyone's already aware that this is all bullshit. so like, if you already know it and you're participating in it and it keeps going up, like when's the point where it actually all of a sudden matters? That's really when a crash happens, right? So who knows?
Right. Totally. Moving forward on that conversation, we had Bill Gurley, one of the top VCs in the current tech world, making some statements about what he thinks that Anthropic is actually trying to do here. So let's hear what he said on the All In podcast.
Right, there is. I've literally in the past 30 days read everything I can about Anthropic, and I've come up with a new theory. This
New breaking theory.
The reason I call this the Dr. Frankenstein theory is the more I dig, I've met people who I dare say think it's their responsibility and they're excited about building a species that's superior to humans. And I would just encourage people to read, as much as they can about Anthropic. Chris Olah worked on this thing called the Constitution. It's about 80 pages. It's hard to get through, but I would encourage you to read it. Amanda Askill, who is the chief philosopher, has started doing podcasts. I would encourage you to listen to them and listen to her language. And then Dario wrote this blog post called Machines of Loving Grace.
Loving Grace. Yeah,
Yes.
I read it.
And it was based on a poem. And the poem is kind of weird. We should put a link to the poem. It's quite short. But the last stanza of the poem says, I like to think of a cybernetic ecology where we are free of our labors and joined back to nature, return to our mammal brothers and sisters. I don't know what that means. Like we're going to go live in the fields where the mammals live. And then the kicker, and all watched over by machines of loving grace. Sounds like Overlord to me. And then in Dario's post, he says, near the end, and it's very long. You read it, Jamal. I mean, Machines of Loving Grace is very long, but he's talking about in the future, what are humans going to do? Because he believes in the massive abundance and UBI and that we won't have to work. I don't believe in any of those things, but he does. And then he says, it could be a capitalist economy of AI systems, which then give out resources to humans based on some secondary economy of what the AI systems think makes sense to reward in humans. So that's envisioning a deity of sorts that's going to break ties and decide what humans get.
It's a computational reward function for humans. It decides how much you're worth.
Yeah, so I don't think they think they're writing software. I think they're midwifing a deity here. And I don't know which one I'm more afraid of, the regulatory capture or this second theory I call the Dr. Frankenstein theory. It's more scary to me, I think, the second thing.
These are
So I definitely hadn't seen any of that from Anthropic, but that is a very scary concept there. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that being what they believe that they're doing.
Yeah, it seems like that's how they talk, even publicly, but even more so behind closed doors. And I think it was Stephen Bartlett who had said that someone who's very connected in that scene has basically said that one of the founders, and I have suspicions on who it is, like very openly talks about this kind of stuff behind closed doors.
Wow, that's wild, man. Yeah, I mean, Dario is definitely the one that I think is. He seems to. I don't know. None of them are very relatable, I guess. Um, but you can tell that there's these guys have such an admiration for like this technology, and I just don't know. I don't know that I like that. I don't know that I guess I agree with that. Um, Brian Mario, isn't that transhumanism? Certainly, probably some form of it. Um, Transhumanism, basically, essentially, the idea that humans are not really like the final form, or let me see actually what the actual definition. It's a philosophical and scientific movement advocating for the use of advanced technologies such as AI, genetic engineering, and nanotechnology to radically enhance human physical, cognitive, and psychological capacities with the ultimate goal of eliminating aging and overcoming human mortality.
Mhm.
Cool. So, so definitely something worth checking out and reading more in depth. Moving forward, we had a couple things from Michael Saylor. Do you have anything else you want to say on that?
No, you're good.
Cool. Michael Saylor. So Michael Saylor in Strategy just sold some Bitcoin. Alex Nakamoto said people are overthinking 32 Bitcoin sale. Why sell? Why not just buy less next week? Is this bearish? Michael Saylor explained the logic. So let's go ahead and listen to him explain why MicroStrategy is continuing to sell some Bitcoin here and there.
How do we pay the dividend? And for most of the history of the instrument, we sold common equity, MSTR equity, to pay the dividend. MSTR equity is a derivative of Bitcoin. It normally trades at a premium to Bitcoin. And so we were selling a Bitcoin derivative, but some people worried that we wouldn't be able to sell the equity in the future. And then there are short narratives that we have to sell the equity. And then there are other narratives that the company won't sell its Bitcoin. And that kind of metastasized to, well, if they're not going to sell their Bitcoin, it must not have any value and they can never sell it. And if they can't sell it, then we can't count the Bitcoin as an asset on the balance sheet. So if you had $65 billion worth of something and people wanted to value it at zero, it's not very good, right? We don't want the credit rating agencies to think the company has $0 of assets. We want the credit rating agencies to think we have $65 billion of assets. And, there are also trolls on the internet that continually complain that this is a Ponzi scheme because we sell equity in order to fund a preferred dividend. Well, what we want to do is we want to reinforce the business model is we sell credit to make a capital investment in an asset, Bitcoin, digital capital. The capital investment accretes over time faster than the dividend. We then monetize the capital gain and we pay the dividend. We think that the best way to punctuate this, to make it very clear, is to make the point that the company doesn't have to sell common stock ever. We can simply sell highly appreciated Bitcoin in order to pay a dividend. And if we do that, you're capturing a capital gain to pay a credit dividend. I think the analogy is like a real estate development company raises capital by issuing a credit instrument, buys land at $10,000 an acre, develops it, it's worth $100,000 an acre, and then they monetize that capital appreciation. You could sell the land at $100,000 an acre. You could rent the land after you fully developed it. You could refinance the land. But nobody questions a real estate development company that makes a capital investment with a credit income. What we're doing is the same thing with Bitcoin, and we want to make sure that the market understands that.
You're muted, buddy.
I'm going to replay a little bit of the beginning here.
But there's been a bit of confusion in the market about where the dividends come from. How do we pay the dividend? And for most of the history of the instrument, we sold common equity, MSTR equity, to pay the dividend.
That's my favorite part of this here. When I heard him saying that, I was like, wait a minute. You are selling equity to pay the dividend, which is not necessarily outside of the scope of what they've maybe said that they were doing. But when you really think about that, right, it very clearly points to the idea that the way that they're paying the dividend to the people that are investing in the dividend paying side of their ecosystem is by selling equity to the next investor. Okay, so it's kind of like in private equity. You get in trouble if you're paying your previous investors based upon the new investments that are being made in your fund. Right? So you're promising an 11% return, but that 11% return is coming from the next investor that's putting money into the fund. Very similar scenario here. But so, and this idea as well, that the only way for you to basically prove to the banks and the lenders and whatnot that you have the ability to pay back the loans is to sell some of the Bitcoin. I think there's some logic to that idea. As a bank, as a lender, it's like, if you're never going to sell this thing, then how can I count that as collateral? Right? Especially when it's something that's so highly volatile already, and it could go to zero. If you're just not going to sell it, even if it's going towards zero, then how am I ever going to get my money back in that event?
Yeah.
So there's some interesting things being said there.
Yeah. People are up in arms, obviously, because he openly would always say, like, never sell your Bitcoin, never sell your Bitcoin. So naturally the optics of it do make sense for why people would respond the way that they have. So, and I think he does get that to a degree. And I think he even said out loud, he's like, well, it doesn't sound as good to say never sell more Bitcoin than you buy. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the hilarious piece of it all. That's the only thing that I think that people can really be super upset about is like, well, he's kind of switched his tone a little bit. This guy, Johnny D, said, this seems like cope. The issue is that he created a narrative around never selling and he sold. If he hadn't created that narrative, nobody would be calling him out. I think that's super fair. Let's see here, next piece I want to get into. It's actually some more from Michael Saylor on the PBD podcast.
As God, as Jesus, anything. I get, like, is there an element of looking at Satoshi as God, as Jesus in that space? Like, do some people look at him that way, where it's not just this mysterious anonymous inventor of Bitcoin, or is it like almost like worshipped type of a character?
Satoshi is a spiritual figure in the Bitcoin community. Satoshi is equivalent to Prometheus. Prometheus gave us fire. Satoshi gave us money. Bitcoin is the first perfect money, the first perfect money in the history of the human race. I spend my copious free time reading economic history, and I've read thousands of years of economic history and tens of thousands of pages, and it's one chaotic, disaster train wreck of, we used seashells, we used bales of tobacco, we used silver and gold, and we clipped the coins, and we had bimetallism and it crashed, and we had fiat currency, and we had a debt crisis, and no one ever had a money that was not defective. I mean, I can show you examples of monetary crashes every 30 years for the past 3,000 years in every single culture. And Satoshi comes along for the first time and says, oh yeah, here's money, it's not broken. And it's so profound. It's like, you look at this water, you sit down at a table and the poor person thinks, oh, I got to drink water. And the rich person wants to drink $1,000 bottle of champagne or wine or something. But for 100,000 years, humans didn't have clean water. And if you read the history of civilization, people are dying in their 30s and 40s and 20s because the water's dirty, because they're getting infected. If you were Henry VIII, you didn't have clean water. The reason they all had gout is they had to drink wine with alcohol in it, and they ended up with degradation of their limbs because they didn't have clean water. So we only have clean water, clean air, clean food that doesn't kill us. We only have it for the past 100 years. We had dirty money from 3 million BC all the way up to January 3rd, 2009. We have dirty money, and there's one guy that actually finally gives us clean money, non-toxic. It does not kill us. So is it spiritual? Yeah, it's spiritual. It's like, what happens when I inject poison and toxic into the veins of my kids? They're dying. It's like forcible chemotherapy to a 12-year-old athlete. That's the problem. All these companies have a useful life expectancy of 10 to 15 years. You know why? Because the capital is toxic, because the money that they capitalize on is toxic. It's sucking the life out of them. Satoshi comes along and he gives you non-toxic money. And who else did it before him? Nobody. So you got to actually hold with reverence the person that actually gave the human race the first clean, perfected money. And you look after that point, you're like, oh man, like we're not dying anymore. Infant mortality rate's 40% before clean water. It's like 4 out of 10 of your kids are going to drop dead, and I give you clean water, and I say, take this, it won't kill them. And you're like, well, what? So the point is, it's a pretty profound paradigm shift. And it's for those of us who are maximalist, that actually believe Bitcoin is an ethical imperative. It's an instrument of economic empowerment. We're just very protective of Satoshi. We don't like what anybody pokes at Satoshi.
So the answer to that question was yes.
Yes.
4 minutes to say that yes, Satoshi is Jesus.
Is their God. The water analogy one, if he's saying that Bitcoin is the equivalent of clean water, then why is he pouring so much dirty water amidst the clean water?
How is he pouring dirty water?
How could his company be more tied into the traditional financial system than how it currently is?
Oof. No, I mean, I think
I'm ignorant, so I'm asking. Like, it seems like there's two counteracting belief systems present at the same time.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. It'd be really interesting to try to get him to square the circle. I'm sure people have asked, actually. It's just probably something out there.
He's probably got a good answer. He's a super smart guy. I'm just saying, from my idiot brain watching that, I'm like, are you not saying two things at the same time?
Yeah.
That counteract each other?
Yeah.
Or contradict?
It makes me think back to when he started going off on that guy.
Oh, yeah.
On that podcast.
The guy who runs a Bitcoin podcast, and he asked a question. He's like, he got super pissed.
Yeah. Maybe that's how he would react to that question. But no.
Oh, for sure. He'd be like, Ben, you're an idiot. I'd be like, I know, but tell me how.
So anyways, yeah, very interesting stuff here. I definitely like the idea, like that Bitcoin gives us clean money, right? The Jeff Booth version of that makes a lot more sense than the MicroStrategy version of that. But, you know, two conflicting ideas, at least in my eyes. We had some more stuff about the entire situation regarding MicroStrategy in general. So Peter Schiff, you know, he loves to make statements about the crypto people. And so he said last week, MicroStrategy sold 32 Bitcoin for about 2.5 million at an average price of 77,000. Since Bitcoin's biggest buyer has now become a seller, where will the new demand come from to sustain the pyramid? Bitcoin is already below 72,000, which is about 7% below where Saylor sold. Jeff Walton talking about some of this as well. Shout out to Jeff. He should be coming on pretty soon. And we also had Joe Consorti reply to Peter Schiff saying, if you think Strategy is selling their Bitcoin because they're a forced seller, you are highly regarded. Saylor has said he intends to inoculate the market by selling a small amount of Bitcoin. The S&P committee needs to see this in order to be added to the S&P 500. This is bullish.
Interesting.
Joe Consorti is also going to be on the pod very, very soon. So we're going to be hitting you guys with some Bitcoin maximalism.
He's got some great videos. His YouTube channel is awesome. Go check it out.
Most definitely. So those are some of those. There's a couple more things to react to, and then we'll get to the news. I mean, to the memes, and then we'll be closing. But Logan Jastromski said, if I'm being honest, I don't really care about decentralization. If you ask 99 of 100 people on the streets, they'll agree as well. People care about better products. If decentralization happens to make the product better, great. But if not, delete it.
Interesting perspective. I think that point is missing how few people even understand that could ever be possible. I just think people don't think that could be an option. And so they'd rather the best experience that isn't like that because they think that's the only option. So of course I'm going to want the best of a bad situation that I feel like I'm stuck in.
Yeah. I also just think that like you don't really need decentralization for as much as people might think.
What are
Like,
examples that come to mind?
Like, well, I would say the only example that I think you really might need decentralization for, I guess you could say for both politics, like the political system itself, and money. But like the thing that I think people in blockchain and distributed ledger technology conflate is that like blockchain does a lot of stuff at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And different blockchains do different things or make other things more efficient or effective. But you don't need decentralization for those things to be more effective or to become better experiences than what we have today. For instance, payments. I don't need decentralization to have better, faster payments. I might need distribution, but I don't need decentralization. I need it to be more efficient. So the payments problem is different than the money problem, right? Because those are two different things. Now, if you can do payments on the same money system, then that's fantastic. But Bitcoin does not do that, for an example, right? It does not give us payments in the same way that we can use a stable coin. But the stable coin loses decentralization. Want to give a huge thanks to Greach3215 for the super chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Greach. Didn't see that. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
It's a lot of claps. That's a long applause. You earned it.
Totally. So anyways, yeah. So I agree with the statement to a large degree. I think you also make a good point though of like, are we considering the places in which decentralization can actually be helpful? And then making the decision of whether or not that's something that we want or not. Because yeah, a lot of the times the option isn't really obvious to people. But yeah. I mean, decentralized social media would be nice, I guess. But like also, like he's saying, does that lead to a better experience? Or does it lead to an experience? Like also there's different levels of decentralization, like Instagram coming through with the way to like create your feed or like choose how you want your feed to come to you. I think that's an important thing. But do you have to decentralize the source code of Instagram to get features that lead to a better outcome? So
got it. I hear what you're saying completely. There's a lot of angles, but I think too few people even know the words that are being said or enough about the systems in which they would play a role. So I think that's why shows like this are important, so we can bring on people that are there to explain where it can be used, where it can't be used, where it's not needed, all that stuff.
Most deaf, man. Nick O'Neill. Actually, hold on. This one first. So can someone please explain to me the resurgent phenomenon of wired headphones? Coach Yak saying something here.
First day OTAs. Gonna be hell of a season. I'm excited.
What's got you motivated today?
Opening my eyes this morning, man. Opening my eyes this morning. God's good. And we get to play football for a living. It's great, man. We gotta do it. We gotta have fun. We gotta enjoy it. Let's go. Come on. First one.
That's
awesome. He's but dudes all over the place and ladies and they thems, everyone are using headphones in a wired capacity a lot more, and that was really obviously not a thing for a long period of time, and so it's popping up a lot. I've seen Drake with wired headphones becoming more of like an anti-signal, and then there's people debating like, is it just for the health reasons of why they're doing it because the Bluetooth technology? Is it like a counter signal because it's like once everything's cool, it's no longer cool kind of thing? What are your thoughts on it all?
Yeah, see, I'm so far removed. I mean, you're the one with the wired headphones in right now. I mean, I guess technically these are wired as well, but yeah, no, I can't even begin to imagine why that's happening. But I mean, the health thing would be a thing.
Yeah, seemingly the studies on it, I don't know how many there are, but there's definitely going to be more and more of that. But yeah, wired headphones are becoming a lot more of a thing in culture for sure.
Totally. So now we're essentially moving into the memes, where we're actually talking pure jokes here. Make sure that that's actually what I want to do. There was one other thing actually from Jason Calicans before we go into the memes. Talking about FU money.
Look at wealth creation. The more I look at wealth creation, once you get past like this basic $10 million mark, you have the FU money, you have the FUM,
right?
And once you have FUM, it doesn't matter. You could ski, you could podcast, you could do whatever you want, and it's exactly $10 million.
I think
that's exactly the FUM number. FUM starts at 10 million.
10 million. And
once you have that, you make 5% on your money, which is $500,000 a year, which means, after taxes, $400,000 or $500,000 a year, you can just exist.
Yeah, I'd be back in Florence right now.
Adding a new member to
You're muted.
What do you think of that, Ben? Is that FU money?
I have no idea. I don't have enough to speak on that. But he obviously would have experienced it, so I would have to believe what he'd say. I also really don't have a lot of things that I ever really want to spend that much money on, so I think my FU money might be lower than a lot of other people's.
That's fair. That's super fair. I don't know, guys. I got to push back on that.
Yeah,
I think with inflation and everything going on, man, like, at least that's just not my number. Like, I think, because the problem is this, like, okay, yeah, if you had $10 million in cash and you invested all of that money to get 5% per year, right? So you're full risk on in whatever it is that you've invested in, then you're making $500,000 a year. But like, yeah, like you now have no optionality. If whatever you've invested in goes to zero, then you're screwed, and you have to start over again. So I don't know. I don't look at it that way. I mean, obviously, you'd be more diversified than that. You'd have other things that you're invested in that might get you up to that 5% per year annual return. I think the number's like triple that.
Wow.
For me, it's like triple that, because then you can take that 10 million and just have it be there and that not be everything. Right.
Totally.
So anyway, I don't know, yeah. So I'm nowhere near it either. But I imagine that like 30, you're like, yeah, you don't have to put everything into whatever it is that's earning you 5% per year, and you can still make that $500,000 without having to work. So anyways, thought that was interesting, worth discussing. And then now we got some funny stuff for the folks. Nick O'Neill on the subway in New York City had to let people know what was going on.
I don't need any of your money. I'm actually here providing a free service of investor protection. I just wanted to notify all of you not to make an investment in MicroStrategy stock. It's absolutely imploding right now. You're welcome. So just in exchange for that, no money, could you just please clap it up for me?
You got some?
Now you know not to invest in MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor is a borderline criminal.
Allegedly.
He's intense. Yeah. He does a lot of those videos where he goes in and makes people hella uncomfortable.
I love that he's able to do that, man. That's awesome, bro. That's crazy.
He goes into Starbucks and he's like, does anyone want the privilege of the opportunity to buy me a coffee for some alpha?
Yeah, that's great, man. All right, so next piece here. Some more MicroStrategy Saylor stuff going on here.
Listen,
with Gabriel Haynes.
Listen, remember when I said never sell your Bitcoin? Well, I had to sell just a little bit of Bitcoin in order to fund the stretch yield, which I use in order to buy more Bitcoin. So I'm selling a little bit now in order to buy a lot in the future. Remember when I said have to sell your kidney before your Bitcoin? Well, I already sold my kidney last week, so I'm in a little bit of a pickle. My kidney's not in a pickle. My financial situation is in a pickle. But don't worry. BTC is a generational asset, and you never ever have to sell it unless you have a Ponzi scheme built on top of it. But don't worry, we'll be back.
Yeah.
Funny,
a
funny,
little
funny.
bit of Bitcoin. Just a little bit.
As long as you buy more than you sell, you're good.
That's right. So Polymarket released this stat here saying that those who invested $10 in IBM in 1932 are now millionaires.
1932. They're just trolling.
Sky Baby, he said, they dead. Oh man. All right. I thought this one was interesting too. Bold here said, look, wait, so the best use case we've come up with for crypto is buying stocks. Pretty funny with all of the things going on with the tokenization of securities and so on. Basically coming back to that idea there of stable coins is one thing, but then also buying stocks essentially becomes the use for blockchain more than just crypto. But I thought that was pretty good. Something else that I saw going on. Where do you see something in the chat?
Yeah, that's us waiting on alts to pump. The super old person, like the dying person.
Oh, word.
I'm finally rich.
Okay, yeah. So the next piece, so there's this company that is something that is outside of my wheelhouse. I hadn't heard of this, but they are called FIA. And just a day ago or so, they announced the investors in their oversubscribed $35 million Series A round. So this is a company that saves time and money. Over 1.5 million users have joined this. And I guess what they do is they like help you find deals on all your favorite brands. Super interesting. And so, but what was funny here was the investors that were announced in the Series A. You had Khloe Kardashian, Alex Earl, Jessica Alba, and so on. And so somebody said, this looks like a festival lineup. And then I love Meg. Oh, Meg, dude, come on the show, Meg. Megan said, I love how they have to add context to anybody who's not a singer, which is hilarious, right? You've got Vlad Tenev, who's the CEO of Robinhood, by the way. And that's just hilarious, right? So yeah, this is great. A company raising money from a bunch of celebrities and almost artists. And you've got a couple of VCs and founders in there in the lineup as well. So I thought that was pretty good. Meg, come on the show. Don't be like that. She's hilarious. She's really good at culture. Like she's been doing this for a minute too. Early TikTok employee and savage.
Cool.
But anyways, the other one that I had, you think you're the coolest guy in a supercar until the aura farming guy pulls up.
He's a pig.
Yeah. He completely mogged that guy.
Yeah, that's super mog. That's how you say it. That is crazy though. Just walking the pig.
So that's the memes for the day, folks. Only thing left would be to talk some community stuff. Last week. Awesome. So last week we closed out with a discussion on Chainlink. You guys have loved this. In fact, this is still continuing to get some views. And we're actually going to have the highlights from this conversation in case you missed it coming out really soon. So you can click the link in the description to subscribe to the highlights channel so you don't have to watch the full stream, but instead just watch the highlights from that conversation. So be sure to hit the link in the description and subscribe to the highlights channel. But there's some good comments, some nice comments. Teddy RUX Spin said, finally, now I know you're genuine and not blowing smoke. Chainlink is the standard.
So you agree with me, so you're genuine.
Fair enough. I understand. I do get it. I've always talked about Chainlink since the OG podcast episodes. I've talked about Chainlink and interoperability, so hopefully you can go back and give us some credit there. Just Tux, this is actually kind of messed up because it actually does apply to today. He said, we need a polymarket odd if Keith will have a technical issue on a live. We appreciate you, brother. Well, you got me again. Stocks and picture and scriptures, Jay said, best video hands down. Well, thanks, man.
Link Marine there.
Yep. Phosphate, let's see. He said proposing the solution is like pitching a would-be profitable black-led series to a white supremacist. Doesn't matter if it'll be a success. They don't want it to succeed. Just like the lobbying corporations don't want citizens anonymized. They want to use and abuse the data. They'll act like the solution doesn't exist or frame it as criminal before accepting it. Loving the episode, by the way. Let's see what he was talking to here. Provider to some degree. You wouldn't even necessarily have to actually share that with your service provider, with AT&T or Verizon.
So you explain that'd be possible. He's saying it doesn't matter if it's possible. They don't care.
I see. Right.
Is how I'm interpreting it.
Right. No, perfect. So yeah. Well, I think the whole point of these people continuing to develop and work on these technologies is the idea that market demand will push things in that direction.
Yeah, it could. Again, collectively, it's an agency-driven thing of do people show agency to basically force it to happen.
Yeah, and to be super clear here, what really this stuff looks like is something really bad happens. Something really bad happens. And then you have, well, this is a much better way of going about this from this point forward. So let's try this now. But yeah, and that really bad thing happening is just people being spied on and that being used as a way to, put people in prison for things that otherwise they wouldn't necessarily be in prison for or whatever. So anyways, and it could be something way different than that too. I have no idea. But anyways, Verona. Oh, this is a banger video. This is the first time I watched. Excellent job, new sub. Well, welcome in. Welcome in, Verona. We appreciate you being here.
Welcome.
Oh, Sterlakini, this was a really good one. I really hope y'all stay true to who y'all have been, even when y'all reach the top. Y'all will. But when you build the foundation sturdy, it makes it a little longer to get your turn. Keep it authentic and honest. We got enough BS in the world. I look forward to y'all stream to get real, no biased, factual information.
Appreciate you.
We appreciate that greatly, Sterlakini. For real.
That's definitely the goal. And we'll definitely do everything we can to maintain that. And we're starting to get more and more support to grow the ecosystem. So your guys' engagement is also incredibly helpful in doing that. So when we hit you with the call to actions, the more that you do them, the faster we can get more people to help improve the quality of the content, the frequency of that stuff, and all the different touch points too.
Totally. Next comment here was Shelton Champion. Chainlink, the company is S tier and will continue to be successful. Token, that's another story. Dumps on retail, bad tokenomics, etc.
What'd you say back?
And I said, this is a very fair observation of the situation. And then he said, I didn't see this one yet. The only tokens that are worth investments are the ones that accrue real value to the token holders. ZBCN, Canton, Solana, ETH. If it doesn't accrue value to holders, it's exit liquidity. P.S. Your channel is a step above others in this space. Appreciate all the feedback. Keep them coming. Oh, well, thanks for that part.
Thanks, Shelton.
Yeah.
For the comments and for the love on Keith's channel.
Yeah, well, I hope you also mean this channel, because this channel is a step above my channel. But so yeah, so what I would say to that too is, I mean, I think there's just a massive issue in the realm of like looking at like a secure, not a secure token, but a utility token. Because if the utility tokens are at their final evolution, then yes, only the tokens that accrue value matter. But like, what if we're just not at the point where the tokens that are going to accrue value have accrued value? Then you're saying the only thing that works is what has already worked. And like, that's fine. Like, there's a delusion that you have to have. There's a certain level of imagination that you have to continue to have to believe in Chainlink or any of these other things that are utility tokens. So I get it. And a lot of people are frustrated. And I think that when we really look at what it is that we're accomplishing here, right? When we zoom out and look at what we're accomplishing, is 10 years enough time?
From now or period?
10 years period. If we go back to 2017 at the launch of the Chainlink Network or whatever it was, is that enough time to fully see the benefits of what's going to happen?
Definitely not, but I think people are so strapped financially that like patience is a difficult thing to maintain.
Without a doubt. So there was one other comment at the bottom that I will address because I think it's kind of funny. He said, in World War III or whatever that is. Oh no, and we. This dude thinks buying crypto is like buying stocks and it's not. Would love any other context, sir, as to what you mean there or who you're talking to.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably was me. I think I said the stock market's a Ponzi scheme too. Probably that. And obviously I'm being hyperbolic, but I just mean philosophically. But again, nuance is the enemy of ignorance. And so yeah, you can't have it. You can't have a nuanced conversation. It's not allowed. What's up, Thomas?
What up, Thomas? So with that said, the only thing left really is for you guys to get on board with the things that we would really, really appreciate from you guys, which is to hit the like button on the stream, first and foremost. Subscribe if you're new around here. And most importantly, guys, we have a highlights channel that we still need a lot of help getting to the subscriber mark. And it's the first link in the description of this video. If you can do us the massive favor of hitting that link, go over to the M&M highlights channel, give us a subscribe, okay? And the reason that we created this channel is because this is where you can go to get the highlights from our conversations, either with our guests or from us doing these one-on-ones where we go all over the place, right? Maybe you're like, look, I just want to hear you guys talk about Chainlink. Well, check out the highlights channel. It's also a great way for you to send this to your friends and family, because 3-hour live streams are very hard for you to send to someone and get them to actually click on that and watch it. So go and subscribe to the highlights channel. It makes a huge difference to us. It makes a massive, massive difference, and it's totally free to you guys. So please, when you get the second, click. In fact, right now, if you're watching this, there's 77 people here watching. I'm talking to you, brother, sister, in law, in Christ. No, I can't bring that in there. I'm sorry. Let me not take it there, but
you lost your camera. You were punished.
How lose the camera?
I don't know. But yeah, in all seriousness, I can't see you.
No, I'm just kidding.
If you could go show us some love, that'd be absolutely awesome. And yeah, that helps a lot. And then beyond that, definitely join us on the No Dice 45 challenge. My tasks for today, for anyone who doesn't know what No Dice is an app that Keith and I have built to help you guys improve your own life through breaking bad habits and building new good ones through a 45-day challenge of rotating challenges in different criterias, different groups. And today I have to give 5 strangers a compliment. I cannot gamble today. I've got to read 10 pages of a book and summarize what I've learned. I had a journal for 10 minutes, and I got to go to the gym. So I got work to do.
Sounds like we got to get at it. I don't know how you lost my camera, but the same thing that happened to you yesterday is what happened to me today, because I'm still here for me, but I can see that I'm not on the stream.
So I don't know what this shit's crazy, but I'll have to send them another bug report. But that's it, man. Anything else from you, Keith?
No. Ladies and gentlemen, join us for No Dice 45. It's going to be an incredible journey to change your life. And other than that, make today the best day of your life.
That's it. Be the light that you want to see. And we will see all of you on Thursday. Have an awesome day. Take it easy.